Looking for an iconic Cleveland music venue that features premier entertainment, spirits, and food? Well, look no further than the Brothers Lounge. They offer a variety of live entertainment acts weekly, along with a diverse selection of beer, wine, and fine spirits, not to mention Chef Wynn's food menu, which has been crafted with traditional American fare with a modern twist. So come on out and enjoy the warm hospitality and make some new friends right here in your backyard. For more information, head over to brotherslounge.com and check them out for yourself at 11609 Detroit Road. That's right near the border of Cleveland and Lakewood. The Brothers Lounge, proud sponsor of the Inside Edge Network, Cleveland's digital leader.
Welcome to the main event here on the Inside Edge Net. I am Rob Rozycki. We got Eli Moon, AA Anthony Alford, and we have a whole lot to talk about on this Sunday night. How are we doing, gentlemen?
Oh, always a pleasure with both of you. You know, another Sunday night. The storms are coming, but you know what? They've kind of come and went over here, and they'll make their way through Ohio. And you know what? We needed it, fellas. We needed it. The plants are going to grow. The gardens are going to look nice all across the great state of Ohio. I'm feeling good. Had a good weekend. You know, I was at Brothers Lounge. Now, you saw that at the beginning, a new sponsor of the Inside Edge Network. I was there all weekend doing shows. I had an incredible weekend. Just had singer-songwriters, a lot of great talent, had a lot of fun. And I'll tell you, I am a little low on sleep, but that's okay because, you know, we got W Energy, obviously. I got my code Inside Edge 10. I used it earlier, and I'm good to go. W, how you feeling?
Feeling good. I'm glad I finished laundry before the storm started rolling in. So that would have been a wasted trip to the laundromat if, you know, walking back across our campus, rain would have dripped on over my laundry.
There is nothing worse than, getting your laundry wrapped up just to look outside and seeing a pouring down rain. So it's like right after you get your car washed. Same kind of thing.
It's terrible. Yeah. Oh, it's terrible. And the worst thing, it's not even just – it'll be one thing if you could just, go from – your garage to your home, and it's right there. But you both have been in my place. You know how it's a bit of a distance from the parking lot to the home. So There's no escape. There's no me covering up the clothes. Like, that would have been it. That would have been a waste of laundry money.
Yeah, not good. It would have been, you know what? It would have been time for a rewash, and nobody likes to have to do a rewash, AA. We're glad everything held off in time, and yeah, I feel pretty good, Rozycki. I think the vibes are pretty good over here for both of us. How are you feeling?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. Looking at the storms, too, it just started raining out here about a half an hour ago. That being said, we do apologize in advance for any and all technical issues one or both or all three of us may or may not have over the course of this show. We're hoping that electricity and internet all stays working simultaneously. Yeah. But no, not too bad. Just kind of a chill weekend here. And right now I'm watching pillow fighting and a Divas Championship match. I'm trying to figure out which one's more preposterous. But at the same time, we're just chugging along. And, you mentioned the whole rewash and AA. Thank God he doesn't have to do all that because that is a pain in the ass. We're going to start today with the rewash, at least according to the pre-show, that Eli wants this whole Guardians team to go through because it did not look yet again today. They lost to the Pale Hosers of Chicago. It is now 2 out of 3. They lose that series to Chicago. Thank God I was not on the air for the 3 straight they lost against the New York Metropolitans. They had lost 2 out of 3 before Arizona. Before that, really the last time they looked halfway decent was against Cincinnati, and quite frankly, everybody looks good against Cincinnati. But the issue is that it's not so much the offense, which we've been complaining about, it seems like, for about 4 years. This is the bullpen. The offense has scored 5 runs, I want to say, about now. This 5 out of the last 7 games, and they do not have a winning record in that span. The bullpen today, it was Craig Yoho. He kind of pooped the bed after a long rain delay, and Joey Cantillo didn't get a chance to get started. It's been the bullpen, it seems like, throughout this whole losing process. How are you, Eli? Do you want to expound on your feelings that you were sharing before the show started here about your current confidence level in the Cleveland Guardians.
Yeah, I'll try to be a little more eloquent too, because I saw the clip we had on social media, and I was like, man, I can't show Mama Moon that one because I dropped an F-bomb and bullshit right after that. So I gotta, I'll watch.
You
a
just
little
said
bit
bullshit.
Yeah, but it's okay because I didn't drop the F-bomb. We're good. All right.
Yo, I be watching those clips too. I'm like, oh man, like
I'm not gonna lie.
It feels good in the moment, and then it was like, oh man, my mom watches. And then, and my mom, and then like. I'm in church now too. Like, oh, this is bad.
Sounds on you like, oh, my bad.
That was I mean, shoot. They're not good. Shoot.
Yeah, freaking BS. But no, it's ridiculous. I mean, it's like I'm not gonna fault the Guardians for the trade deadline moves they made. They did a good job with the trade deadline. I've been very happy so far with the week or so. Angel and Al's been up. But the problem is not the offense, as you alluded to, Rob. It's really the bullpen has been absolute trash. I mean, and it was trash before the deadline, and they added Yoho, and that was their bullpen move. And it makes you wonder, though, like, instead of going out and getting a Foster Griffin, which I'm not knocking, he's only had one start with the Guardians, but maybe their focus should have been a little more heavier on the bullpen than we were talking about here even. You know, it's like they have not been very efficient, no matter who it is. Okay, sure, a few guys are good at times, but then 2 or 3 of them are slumping. And it's like you don't really have anybody you can go, we can rely on you to get you to the setup and the closer. And here's the thing, even the setup position, isn't always the best for the Guardians. Hunter Gaddis, is a lot of times in that role, and he has not looked, when he's healthy, he's not looked good. And I'm just concerned. I'm concerned. I'm worried. I've been told to stay optimistic all year, and I did it. I did very good, Rob. You have to be proud of me. I have not been as pessimistic as I was when we were talking about them in September, October last year. But here we are in August, and I'm not feeling great. You have the Detroit Tigers that are literally now in second place in the AL Central. Hey, how you doing, Detroit? And then Minnesota is obviously tied with the Guardians right now for third in the Central. The Royals are out of it, so it's a 4-team race. But that's really the big thing is it's a 4-team race for the Guardians to make the playoffs. It's not just to win the Central. The Central is your ticket in. Because right now it's looking like the East is going to get 3 teams in. The Rays, the Yankees, the Red Sox. And then you have the Guardians that are right now on the outside looking in. And it's not looking promising. The only promising thing is their schedule does look favorable in terms of who they have coming up next. I know they have Detroit, then San Diego, San Francisco, Colorado. So there's some optimism. But this bullpen AA is absolute trash. I mean, I have no other words for it except for I don't know where
garbage.
You go from here. Yeah, I mean, garbage because
you can use that too.
I don't know where you go from here. But it's like
mess.
also the other thing to keep in mind, guys, is Cantillo was a guy the Guardians chose to keep in the rotation. And he really wasn't good his last start, and he wasn't really good today. I mean, he wasn't terrible, but it was, I don't know. The rain delay was also there too, but he just hasn't looked as strong as he did earlier in the season. So I wonder if we're going to see Ciccone get a few reps in and see if he can maybe take that 5th spot. I'm just curious.
Let me stop you right there, and I'll let AA go. That's been one of the issues that the Guardians have had with this bullpen in the last few days. Slade Ciccone actually, let me see what the actual deal was here. He no injury specified here on the injury report I'm seeing. He's on the 15-day IL.
Yeah.
So he's currently chilling out. And I think, when they made that move for Griffin, it was kind of a twofer. Hey, we can move one of these guys, be it Cantillo or Ciccone, and end up being Ciccone to the bullpen. That'll strengthen that up while we strengthen up our starting rotation up. And if Ciccone isn't available, then that plan gets kind of shot to hell. And, the Guardians need to find somebody who can work those middle innings. If it is, Franco Aleman, if it is Colin Holderman, who had a bad day yesterday, it doesn't seem like we don't have that Pedro Avila guy that'll come in and throw those middle innings that are very crucial to getting to the end of the game.
Right. No, I understand that. And AA, real quick, I just want to respond. Like, Rob, I'm not saying right this instant because, yes, obviously the injury, you can't do nothing about it right now. But I'm saying I don't think this 5th starter is locked in even for the Guardians. Even when Ciccone gets back, I think there could be an opportunity for him to try to show that, hey, I can give you that back-end support in the rotation and maybe work my way into a potential. I don't think we could talk about playoffs right now, but a playoff rotation. I don't feel good about Cantillo as well, just based off the last few starts. Again, rain delay today, but he doesn't look as promising as he did earlier in the season, and that seems to be the problem. Is the last few guys in the rotation and the bullpen as a whole is a mess right now, and it's never one or the other. It is one or the other with the Guardians. It's either offense or it's pitching, AA. And right now, the pitching is they could put me, you, and Rob out there right now, and I think we could at least give them a little bit more effort than what's going on.
I'll give you good effort for one at bat.
That's all we need. Hey, that's what Yoho did today. One at bat.
Well, and also, and I know it didn't really. I think it is part of the story. Even though the Guardians' offense has been better, we're still bottom third in runners in scoring position. Like, we're still not able to, consistently drive home, drive in runs. Like, that's also a problem too. This is it's kind of embarrassing that this series has went down like this after what happened with the White Sox yesterday. Having to pull their starter because of their own mistakes
2 days ago,
which is nuts. But this is very unfortunate. I mean, let me pull this up too, because this is stunning to me. I showed this to you guys before the show. This is what the Tigers have done since they've traded Scooble. Look at that. Are you kidding me? We were talking about that team being like in the dumpster fire. That was it back on Memorial Day weekend.
Them in Boston. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I think the thing too is with the Detroit Tigers, we were talking a little bit before we got on air tonight. They've just been hurt most of the year. I know the Scooble thing's been over their head for parts of the season, but they were missing some key components of that offensive lineup that really had them winning the Central for majority of the year last year. So I think they finally have gotten healthy. They sometimes with these trades, we talk about it with the Browns. I know we'll talk about them later on. But, sometimes with these trades, when you have a superstar or looming over your franchise in terms of you don't know if he wants to be there or not and whatever, with Scooble, it's like the Tigers have kind of moved on from that. Now they have an opportunity to kind of just focus on trying to get back in the hunt. They have done that for the playoffs. And Boston, just touching on that real quick, everybody thought when they got rid of their ownership and cleaned house with the coaching staff that it was, okay, Boston's literally going to be the worst team in the American League possibly. And now here they are. I know they had that crazy winning streak, but there's something, you see it with baseball in all sports, but baseball, especially around this time of year, you start kind of getting a hunch of who's going to go on kind of a crazy run or who has the odds to go on a crazy run. And Boston really gives me that feeling. And that's why I'm a little concerned with the Guardians, just because we were talking in April and May about them being a top 3 team in the American League and going for it all. And now I don't even know if they're the 4th best team in the American League right now.
At this moment, they're not. I mean,
well,
they are. That's the problem. That's the big problem. They are. Dropping 13 of the last 17. And just right now, the bullpen is obviously trash. They're not putting together full games where they're clicking. And for whatever reason, let's stop being around the bush about the Chicago White Sox. They're good. End of story. They're a good team. And if Chicago's not a good team, then what does that make us?
Yeah.
Because we couldn't pull through. I mean, we've been talking all season long. Oh, when's the White Sox going to fall off? When are they going to fall off? When are they going to fall off? It's August 9th. Hasn't happened yet. And if they do fall off, Detroit's right there. And if we don't get the job done Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday against Detroit, you can it's going to be tough for the Guardians.
Because we're going to be getting into
playoffs. Because of what happened last year, because of the rest of the August schedule, Rob, I cannot say that they're done, but it's not looking good right now.
Well, we're getting into the mode where, where the Guardians are kind of sitting at. Like one thing that, has helped us out is the fact that the White Sox really haven't played all that well over the last month or so. I mean, they've been kind of shadowing the Guardians. You notice it's, the lead's only really expanded from a game and a half to what is it now? 3.5, 4? So we've benefited by that a little bit, but what that's kind of done is let the other pack of idiots stay in, get in, whatever here. And we're now at a moment where, and you bring up the current standings where, you say we're a game and a half out. Okay, in a bubble, that's all right. But, when you got two teams in front of you now, and they're both division teams, and you got the Baltimore Orioles that are a half game behind you. And then before you realize it, you're just a couple of games from the Seattle, Toronto of the world here. Like, you're worried now about not so much the deficit, but by how many teams have to play like shit for you to make a run. And, we're at the very least, what the Guardians have made us do now for the rest of the season is scoreboard watch and make sure, to see what Detroit and what Minnesota and what even Texas is, doing, or Baltimore, or whoever. Seems like it's 3/4 of the league. But yeah, the Guardians have put themselves in a spot for sure. Now, to Double A's point and to Eli's, shreds of optimism here, they do have a relatively easy schedule, for the rest of the time. They got Colorado, they got some of the West Coast teams coming up, which is cool. They are in a position where still, and it seems like we've been saying it all year, they just got to make a 2 or 3 week run, where they play 700 ball, 800 ball. Well, all they do. But if they win 3 out of 4 for a few, for 2 weeks, they're back into first place. They're back, at least in the wild card. They're going to be back in the playoff, run, no problem. So, they at least have a chance, but this bullpen has to get better. Jose Ramirez has to start looking like himself, because, it is kind of amazing that, this has all happened while Stephen Kwan's turned it around. We have a leadoff hitter again, and it really hasn't paid dividends. And that kind of goes to show that, all these offensive moves that they've made, the Joe Adells of the world, the Nathaniel Lowe's of the world, even Stephen Kwan, turning it around, or, Chase DeLauder becoming a major league, outfielder. Angel Hinao, the flavor of the week from the minor leagues. Hopefully that flavor will linger for a while. It doesn't matter what those guys do. If the bullpen can't hold their shit together, then we have no chance. And we have gotten very spoiled the last few years between Cade Smith now and he who shall not be named before him as the closer. We have had a pretty stout, and when I say pretty stout, I mean historic bullpen even a couple years ago. Right. Like, we have been very spoiled. And I think what the frustrating part was, while the offense was piddle-dicking around, is that we knew we were wasting it. And we knew that, hey, all right, stellar relief pitching doesn't quite matter if you lose every game 2-1, 1-0, 3-1, whatever it would be. We knew that wasn't going to happen forever. And guess what? Forever expired, this year. And right now we're kind of in a spot, but I think the bullpen can get it together. We've seen these guys be effective before. It's just, I don't know, it's just finding a groove. But right now, I don't have a lot of hope for what's about to happen in Detroit for the next 3 days. And as you guys said it, you lose 2 out of 3, or even, God forbid, all 3 in Detroit. That turns now into, a 4.5, 5 game deficit you have on the Tigers. God knows what on the White Sox, and God knows what on the wild card in general.
Let me ask you both this real quick. If they drop 2 of 3 to Detroit, are they done?
Well, that's what I was going to get to. I think it's really not a matter of just that 3-game stretch. It's the stretch coming up. I mean, they have San Diego, they have San Francisco, Colorado, and they have to take care of business in this stretch coming up, Double A. I mean, they have to take care of the teams that they should beat. I mean, I know San Diego's still jockeying for an NL wildcard slot on the National League side. Giants are pretty much out of it. But, these are teams that they should be able to beat. They are better than them on paper, and based off most of play, they should be able to beat them. So I think it's not necessarily just that Detroit series. If they can at least snag a game, ideally you want to win that series, but you can't get swept. You cannot get swept, but it's that stretch coming up, because in the last month of the season, they play teams like the Orioles. They get the White Sox, I believe, again. They have, I think, the Twins in that last month of the year. So they have teams that it's going to be imperative that they're playing their best ball. This stretch coming up, they can, to your point, Rob, the bullpen can turn it around, can get back on track. Hopefully the offense keeps up. And if they play good baseball now and win a string of games going into that last month in September, then I feel a little bit better about it, because, okay, you're pretty much neck and neck at that point if you go on this run and the White Sox kind of still struggle a little bit at times. But if you don't, if you go out there and look embarrassing against Detroit, and then San Diego takes your lunch money, and then you struggle with San Francisco, then I'm concerned, and you might as well write the season off at that point.
And to your question, Double A, no, you can't say they're done. And that's the annoying thing about this team is that after last year, 15 and a half out, everything looked bleak. We were sitting here eulogizing the team, in late August, not realizing September was yet to happen. So you really can't say they're done. But, and the other thing that they have going for them too is that, you look at the Tigers, they did collapse last year. The White Sox, they're a very young team. They were losing 120 games a year ago or 2 years ago and 100 last year. So they're brand new to all this. The Minnesota Twins, I don't think anybody has any confidence in. And same with the Rangers. So the Guardians are really kind of the only tested team, maybe not in the postseason of this bunch, but in definitely the last stretch, and they know how to win a division. So you really can't say they're done until they're all the way dead. But it's not going to look good. Morale is going to be about as low as it can be. And, people are just going to be, for the first time in a while, actually, yearning for the Browns news cycle to kick back up again.
We'll see if that holds after this week.
Yeah. No, I think that's right.
Next segment coming up. Go ahead, Moon.
Yeah, no, I just think this stretch is going to be very imperative for the Guardians. I just think you can't go you can't go deeper than where you're at right now or stay where you're at. You got to catch up some ground before the end of the month. This is the time to do it, and if they don't, then I feel pretty comfortable saying they are done because, we can keep telling ourselves, and I love the Guardians. I'm a big Guardians fan. Obviously, I'm a Cleveland guy. But the 15.5 game back, the reason we talk about how cool it was is because it doesn't happen. That's not supposed to happen. So
it's like why Tom Brady's an awesome draft pick because pick 199 doesn't turn into a Hall of Famer every year.
Right. So yeah, we just can't go into September expecting another, we're 5, 6, 7 games back. We just can't expect that. And the thing too with the Central last year, it wasn't as competitive as it is this year. There are 4 teams in the AL Central that have a legitimate shot of winning this division right now. And that wasn't the case last year. It was just, can the Guardians catch the Tigers? That was your AL Central storyline. This year it's, can the White Sox hang on or one of these 3 teams, Detroit, Minnesota, or Cleveland, going to be able to jockey their way back up? But the White Sox, yes, they're playing rough right now at times. They're struggling. They're not as hot as they were when they started the year, but they've made additions. I believe they added Castillo from Seattle, Luis Castillo, at the deadline. So they helped their pitching rotation. And then Murakami is one of the bright young players in the league. I mean, not super young. I know he came over from overseas, but somebody that can help Chicago for not only this year, but years to come. Chad Bryan's talked about it on Inside Edge Primetime. We've discussed the White Sox because he said back in April or May, it's early, talk to me in August or September, the White Sox probably won't be here. And we talked about it a few weeks ago on the show, and he said, hey, you know what? It seems like they're a year early because everybody was expecting this White Sox team with the talent they have to be able to be a presence in the AL Central. They just thought in 2027 or if a lockout happens, 2028. Nobody thought this year, and they're early, and that's a problem for these other teams in the division.
Well, you could said back in the day that we were early, a couple of years ago with especially with the voter year. We had a brand new manager. Nobody was expecting much, and we come out of the gate big time and end up kind of using a kick-ass first half to fuel a Division II championship. So, yeah, I mean, I guess the moral of the story with that in modern baseball is the future's now. Who knows when we don't know when this switch is going to get flipped, but when it does, we got to be ready. And yeah, I think that was kind of the criticism with the Guardians the last couple of years was that they weren't ready when it did kind of really get to the nitty gritty part, against the Yankees in the playoffs or last year in the run against Detroit. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be fun to see. I mean, we don't have the big comeback to make, but yeah, it's going to be. It's not a a race where you have 2 people and you got one person who's just trying to catch up and get back in it. No, I mean we're going down the stretch they come, and we got 5 folks that are eligible to win this thing. So it's going to be a different kind of a race, but I think it's one the Guardians can win.
And my final point with this, just in particular to today's game and even yesterday, in particular, you're. And Stephen Vogt talked about it in the post game today. It's look, you weren't anticipating storms, right? You're not anticipating your bullpen going to distance, right? Today. So, yes, the bullpen deserves all the flack that they're getting. I'm not laying off of them. What you shouldn't either. But it does change the way you approach the game. There was some controversy too about why the White Sox pushed for this game to happen after a 2-hour plus rain delay instead of playing this tomorrow. I believe the White Sox also had an off day tomorrow, and word on the street, don't know if it's true, I cannot confirm it, word on the street, White Sox have some kind of a golf benefit or something, and they didn't want the game to be pushed to tomorrow. And like,
which, I mean, that's dumb. But the thing is, though, is that, you say the bullpen, they did the best they could. I know the storms happen. It's, if you want to use an analogy on that is, you always have a plan until you get punched in the mouth. And they got punched in the mouth a little bit today. But the White Sox had to deal with it too. The White Sox, their bullpen held it down. And that was after, the game before the series started against Cleveland. That was a 13-inning monster in Fenway. They had to, basically use every bullet they had in the chamber in the bullpen on that one. They go right into Cleveland. They lose their starter because their manager forgets about a mound visit from the pitching coach. So they're into the bullpen for literally 8 2/3 of that game, 8 2/3 innings of that game. Yesterday was kind of a normal outing, I guess, for them, but like their bullpen's been taxed too, and they should have been able to, be exposed also. And we did, but problem is that they exposed us more. Yeah. This is the main event here on the Inside Edge Net. We will forego this Guardians happy talk and get to more depressing issues with your Cleveland Browns. There is a quarterback competition happening. And I guess the question is it really a competition if nobody's really trying to win? We'll get into that one. We'll talk about maybe even Dylan Gabriel and all of that happy stuff. And we'll really get into also how are the fans taking this. If you want to get into the comments section right now on YouTube or on Twitter and really answer the question, how would you take it as a Browns fan if you have to go into this year with Deshaun Watson as the starter again? Because he's been lingering over this team for the last 3 or 4 years anyway. We thought we were over and done with. But between a combination of Todd Monken not having loyalties to anybody, Jador Sanders not playing all that well, Deshaun playing okay enough, we're facing that possibility right now. Yeah, if you want to get in the comments on that, how are you going to feel about Deshaun Watson possibly being your starting quarterback yet again here in Cleveland? I got a feeling, I know how Eli feels. We'll get into how AA feels, and hopefully we'll get into how you guys feel too about it. This is the main event on the Inside Edge Net. I am Rob Rozycki. We got Eli Moon, AA Anthony Alford, and you. We'll be right back here after a word from our sponsors.
Looking for an iconic Cleveland music venue that features premier entertainment, spirits, and food? Well, look no further than the Brothers Lounge. They offer a variety of live entertainment acts weekly, along with a diverse selection of beer, wine, and fine spirits, not to mention Chef Wynn's food menu, which has been crafted with traditional American fare with a modern twist. So come on out and enjoy the warm hospitality and make some new friends right here in your backyard. For more information, head over to brotherslounge.com and check them out for yourself at 11609 Detroit Road. That's right near the border of Cleveland and Lakewood. The Brothers Lounge, proud sponsor of the Inside Edge Network, Cleveland's digital leader.
Key On Sports is the leader in Ohio high school athletic coverage in written, print, and video streaming. From the latest news and results and written content to the high school football game of the week every Friday, Key On Sports has you covered. The vision of 15-time published author Vince McKee has become the most trusted site in Ohio high school athletic news. From podcasts to player profiles, Key On Sports is your one-stop for all of it. Visit them today at keyonsports.com or on YouTube at Key On Sports. Check out their socials on Twitter and Facebook as well.
Please support the new Inside Edge Network by liking, subscribing, and following us on your favorite social media platforms. That's at Inside Edge Net across Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, X, and IG. And don't forget to download our new app over on Roku. And as always, thank you for supporting your favorite shows on the Inside Edge Network, Cleveland's digital leader for news, talk, sports, entertainment, and mental health. Fanatics isn't just our name, it's who we are. Loyal, passionate fans, dedicated to our favorite teams and to the sports we love. That's why we're honored to be able to offer fans the world's largest collection of official sports apparel and sports jerseys from all leagues, teams, and players you love. We feature a wide selection of gear from every league, including the NFL, MLB, NBA, NHL, and NCAA merchandise, which allows us to serve fans of football, baseball, hockey, basketball, lacrosse, soccer, golf, and everything else that gets your heart pumping. Go to InsideEdgeNetwork.com under our Partners section to find our link to check out all of what Fanatics has to offer. Fanatics, a proud sponsor of the Inside Edge Network, Cleveland's digital leader. Clean energy, bold flavors, no jitters. See why people won't shut up about Dubby. Whether you're starting your workday or getting ready to exercise, Dubby Energy helps you lock in and focus. Over 15 different flavors to choose from. Order Dubby Energy right now and find out more information by checking out our partners page on InsideEdgeNetwork.com. Also, use that promo code InsideEdge10 to receive 10% off your order. Dubby Energy, your energy-focused sponsor of the Inside Edge Network, Cleveland's digital leader. Discover our collection of handcrafted candles made with clean, minimal ingredients. Every product thoughtfully created in small batches free from harmful toxins for mindful everyday indulgence. Imported coconut soy wax with natural wood wicks to offer long-lasting burn and rich fragrance. Find out more about Alley Rose Fragrances by checking out their link on our partners page at InsideEdgeNetwork.com. And if you're a first-time customer, use the promo code InsideEdge20 to receive 20% off your order. AlleyRoseFragrances.com, a proud sponsor of the Inside Edge Network, Cleveland's digital leader. Dine, drink, and dance at the premier spot in town. It's time to check out all of what our friends over at the Brothers Lounge have to offer. Everything from weekly live entertainment, a wide variety of different beers, wines, and spirits, and an expertly crafted American fare menu with a twist courtesy of Chef Wynn that'll make your mouth water. So, what are you waiting for? Head over to the Brothers Lounge at 11609 Detroit Road or check out their website, brotherslounge.com, to learn more about what you've been missing out on. Brothers Lounge, proud sponsor of the Inside Edge Network, Cleveland's digital leader. Whether searching for a baseball autograph by your favorite World Series slugger, a signed football by an iconic Hall of Famer, or the jersey of a world-famous soccer star, you've come to the right place. Here at SportsMemorabilia.com, the web's leading source for authentic sports memorabilia, you'll find more than 500,000 authentic products from nearly every professional sports league, team, and players. Not only will you find your next prized sports possession with ease, thanks to superb customer service and tremendous site experience, you'll have satisfaction and peace of mind that every product listed comes complete with a certificate of authenticity and is fully backed by the SportsMemorabilia.com Lifetime Authenticity Guarantee. Check out SportsMemorabilia.com by heading over to the Partners page on our website, InsideEdgeNetwork.com. SportsMemorabilia.com, proud sponsor of the Inside Edge Network, Cleveland's digital leader. Discover our collection of handcrafted body mists made with clean, minimal ingredients. They offer a natural alternative to synthetic fragrances, perfect for sensitive skin and those seeking clean, mindful self-care, and the perfect gift for you and your special someone. Learn more about all Alley Rose Fragrances has to offer right now by clicking the link on our partner page at InsideEdgeNetwork.com. First-time customers use that promo code InsideEdge20 to receive 20% off your order. AlleyRoseFragrances.com, a proud sponsor of the Inside Edge Network, Cleveland's digital leader. Mosser Moments Photography is a husband and wife wedding photography team based in Cleveland, owned and operated by Inside Edge Network's very own Ryan Mosser and his wife Hallie. For the past 10 years, they've captured more than 100 weddings across Northeast Ohio and beyond, always working together as a true two-person team. Their style centers on authentic, emotional storytelling, documenting the real moments between two people in love and creating images that feel natural, comfortable, and true to the couple. Rooted in Northeast Ohio, but inspired by their travels, Ryan and Hallie bring a warm, personal approach to every wedding day. Their work blends experience, consistency, and a genuine passion for helping couples relive their best day through timeless photography. Learn more by checking out Mosser Moments Photography's link on our partners page at the InsideEdgeNetwork.com website. Mosser Moments Photography, a proud sponsor of the Inside Edge Network, Cleveland's digital leader. Find us on InsideEdgeNetwork.com for the latest information on your favorite shows, personalities, and network partners. Plus, we have a merch shop. That's right, we have network polos, t-shirts, champion jackets, hats, and bottles. Rep the network. Every purchase supports independent sports and entertainment media. Thank you for your support from all of us here at the Inside Edge Network, Cleveland's digital leader for news, talk, sports, entertainment, and mental health.
Welcome back here on the Inside Edge net. I am Rob Rozycki. We got AA Anthony Alford, Eli Moon. I'm sorry, I am a little thrown off here. I am watching this concussion festival that is the Pillow Fighting Championship, and it got better now. They're having the women's division. So I will be a little distracted while we go through our football talk. How are we all doing? How was the break? Everybody okay? Well rested? Good to go, everybody?
I need your breakdown of this pillow fight going on.
I'm not 100% sure there's a weird scoring system involved for like points where like hits happen and and these they're not like normal just pillows here. These are sport performance pillows that have handles on them. So they're winging these things at each other. And anybody who's ever done pillow fighting as a kid, if you were to fold that thing up and stuff it down in the edge of the pillowcase and get that thing humming, that's a concussion waiting to happen.
Only thing I can think of, I don't know if you guys remember this commercial. Sock and boppers, and better than a pillow fight.
Oh, either way, this is all just a concussion waiting to happen here. We'll see what this morphs into next after the pillow fighting championships. But nonetheless, let's talk about another concussion factory, the NFL. The Browns are embarking on their training camp. They're about a week and a half in. And the talk of the town has been, who the hell is the quarterback going to be? And the Browns are proving the old adage true. When you say you have two quarterbacks, you don't really have one. This case, it's Shedeur Sanders and Deshaun Watson. The longer this kind of keeps going on, the more and more this just seems like, neither party is all that equipped right now to take the starting quarterback job. It looks like Deshaun is trending upwards right now. We were mentioning that a little bit before the break there. He looked good in training camp in the red zone drills right over the weekend. Stole some reps away from Shedeur Sanders. So, of course, that means, the media, he's going to be the starting quarterback week one and probably for the next 10 years. But I guess that begs the question, gentlemen, and you guys are a lot more attached to this than I am. I'm watching this as more of theater and more as just entertaining of how not to run a football team. You guys, though, are Browns fans. Most of you listening are Browns fans. How do you feel about year 5, year 4 of Deshaun Watson now, where we might have thought that this problem was dead and buried 2 years ago, but it seems like it's resurfacing now, and there's a legitimate chance he could be the starting quarterback of this team. How are you guys feeling about that?
Yeah, yeah. Just
okay.
Yeah.
All right. I think that kind of tells us what we need to know. All right, we'll be back, guys. Our main event here, Inside Edge Net. See you later.
I don't understand how this team is so boneheaded. I've actually never met a franchise. It's crazy. I'm almost honored that I live in the city where this is the city where the football team has never figured out the quarterback position for a 5-year stretch. We've got to watch other teams. The Patriots have had dynasty runs. The Steelers have had stability at the quarterback position. Okay, recently you can argue a little bit, but they had it. Other teams, even the Chargers, had some stability at quarterback. And for some reason, the Browns they look at the quarterback room as it's a fun circus. Every year they love bringing in different candidates, like at the reality show, and then they figure out that none of them usually fit what they're trying to do. Unfortunately for the Browns, they're getting in their own way again. I understand Shedeur Sanders has things he needs to work on. He's a second-year quarterback. But I just don't understand the infatuation with wanting to run with Deshaun Watson. I understand. We've talked about the money. I know the money that's owed to him. I still have a hard time buying that when the Dolphins ate $99 million. I'll continue to stress it. $99 million to get Tua Tagovailoa off their roster.
The Broncos with Wilson.
Exactly. But these guys didn't have the problems that Deshaun Watson has stemming off the field. And then you add his on-the-field availability, which, most of us, if not all of us, are preached to at a young age. Your best, ability is availability. Deshaun Watson hasn't had that as a Cleveland Browns starter. So if we look at it from really just the on-field status, he hasn't provided any value for that contract. Yet the Browns are like, let's try it again because we have a new coach. And I know we went over the quarterback tiers on Midnight Run last week on Friday or Thursday. We were off Thursday. And I know the one head coach that believes Todd Monken can fix Deshaun Watson. I always talk about it when it comes to certain moves you make as a GM, as a head coach, whatever, as a position of power in an organization. Same with Kobe Altman when it was James Harden, and I said, okay, Kobe Altman and then Kenny Atkinson with his words in the playoffs attached really his future to James Harden. We'll see what it looks like this upcoming season. This is Andrew Berry attaching himself to Deshaun Watson. You can say, well, maybe it wasn't Berry's call all the way. I get it. Well, Jimmy Haslam's not going anywhere. Andrew Berry can go somewhere. And if this blows up in their face, his seat's going to get incredibly hot again, and we may be having a discussion about who's replacing him in the front office. I just think this is a bad move for the Browns. You find out either if Shador's a guy, if you really believe Dylan Gabriel has made leaps and bounds from last year, give it a shot with the young guys. I'd rather see one of those guys out there, obviously Shador, over Deshaun Watson. To me, this just tells me the Browns can tell you all you want to hear. We're going to be competitive. Take the over 5.5 from Jimmy Haslam. Words from Jimmy Haslam a week ago. It's all lip service. This team is already positioning themselves with those 2 first-round draft picks for 2027 and starting to look at the quarterback rankings. It's disappointing, but this is how and I told all summer, and before the summer even started, I said, this is how you'll deflate the entire organization and the fan base around you if you do this. I don't care if he goes out there and wins 6 or 7 or 8 games. Deshaun Watson is damaged goods. You don't win games with damaged goods. Not with all of that. If it was one or the other, if it was his health was there, but he's finally healthy, okay. If it was he was playing a little rough, but it's a new system, okay. If he had the off the field problems, okay, but he plays well on the field, it's still not great, but some people will work with it. He has all 3 problems. Like, pick a struggle. He has all 3 struggles you could think of when it comes to why he shouldn't be the franchise quarterback, why he shouldn't start.
He actually has another one, too, you're not even mentioning. He has the shoulder surgery and all of the massive injuries he has, too. I mean, even if he was, all the off-the-field stuff and all the tumultuous, between-the-ears stuff aside, he's still beaten and battered in a way that not a lot of other quarterbacks are right now.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying, the availability. The availability has never been there in 6 years. I mean, he has played, double-digit games once, maybe twice in his 5-6 seasons here in Cleveland. Yep. It's an embarrassment. It's absolutely an embarrassment. And I'm trying to keep my composure a little bit because I'd be damned if I go crazy about a Brown season before it has even started. But it just feels like we had a little bit of optimism in the air. Denzel Boston's looking good at camp. Casey Concepcion, I know I'm a little hesitant. I'm a little worried about the drops if he's going to be able to hang on to the football. But you had the optimism there. Harold Fan and all this. The defense, what do they look like after Myles Garrett? There's Jared Versus in town. Carson Schwarzenegger. And then you do this. And this is a move that deflates the entire fan base. We've seen this story. We've seen it not once, not twice, 3, 4, 5 times. It doesn't work. It does not work. And it's just frustrating because we could at least find out what we have in that quarterback room. But we're going to dilly-dally around, for lack of better words. We're going to mess around, and we're going to say, you know what? Put Deshaun out there. He's going to be the starting quarterback. He'll get week 1 through 5. And then if the Browns look like trash and they're 1-4 after 5 games, how is that fair to Shador? And I'll give the same fairness to Dylan Gabriel since he's in the discussion. How is that fair to Dylan Gabriel? Whoever gets the opportunity to go in at that point. It's not an optimal position to put a quarterback in that you're trying to learn can be your guy for at least a foreseeable future. No quarterback really is put in an optimal position going in midway through the season. So I'm just not a fan of it. I think it's ridiculous.
I could be rational because it's August 10th and we haven't had a preseason game yet, so we won't. None of this is surprising to me. Like, none of it. Actually, to be brutally honest, this is actually playing out exactly how I envisioned this was going to play out. Like, Deshaun's biggest issue on top of all the everyday struggles that you guys talked about, that was That was not what Biggie Smalls was talking about in his song Everyday Struggles. But all the struggles that you guys have talked about, for the most part, none of that matters in practice. None of it matters in practice. He's healthy enough to practice. Boom. Right? He's going to get the opportunity to play. He's going to win the starting job. If he looks remotely, if he can lift his finger this Saturday in that first preseason game, he's going to get the starting job. I always go back to this for a couple reasons. What's going to end him is going to be pace of play issues. I truly believe if you go a long time without playing high level football in full speed for 60 minutes for years upon years, you can't recover from that. But you won't see that in August. That only happens in September. So right now, he is currently the better practice player.
I get you.
And that red zone day from Wednesday, where he was 17 of 20, 7 touchdowns. Like, that's a controlled environment. And to be fair, Deshaun did take advantage of that. So it's clear and obvious, guys. We talked about this when Todd Monken was hired, and I've been steadfast on this all year. Todd Monken got this job because he had a plan for Deshaun Watson. That's what ownership, that's what Andrew Berry was looking for, and Todd Monken was the guy that they hired because he had a plan for Deshaun. That's why he got those reps on Saturday, because the whole explanation of, hey, we want to run some packages and see how Deshaun looks at those packages. That was in the job interview back in January.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though.
Playing out that way.
But here's the thing. If the Browns front office and their coaching staff, Todd Monken included, he's the head coach of the team, I'm going to be brutally honest. If they're that clueless that they believe that practice, Deshaun, because you keep highlighting AA about how he looks good in practice and he has had some strong practice days in training camp. But we all know, and you've mentioned it just now, about the game speed and how he looks when it comes to a regular season game. I'm not saying you're saying it's the right call. What I'm saying is if the Browns, the coaching staff primarily here, are getting fooled once again by practice Deshaun Watson, then that's on them. And unfortunately, a lot of people need to answer this at the end of the season, because if they roll in with a significant amount of Deshaun Watson starts, I have questions for Andrew Berry again. I have questions for Todd Monken, because if you're this big offensive guru that worked with Lamar Jackson and other quarterbacks in your career, then how can't you see that this is damaged goods that can't be recovered?
I'm sorry. Real quick, Shedeur Sanders needs to be better at practice.
That's what I was going to say here, is that he's picking the lesser out of two evils. Todd Monken had nothing to do with the acquisition of neither quarterback, really all three quarterbacks we're talking about. He wasn't in town for any of this. He wasn't in town for the trades. He wasn't in town for the draft picks. And in AA, I'll tweak what you had to say. I think he had a plan at quarterback they liked. And if that is Deshaun, if that is Shedeur, okay, fine. But I think Todd Monken's kind of in a win-win scenario for him, for his standing, for where he's at right now, because what I just said, he's going to have to pick a quarterback he had nothing to do with acquiring. He is right now trying to make chicken salad out of chicken shit. And if it doesn't happen year one, I don't think it's going to really, unless this thing looks completely discombobulated. If this thing, he's not going to get completely killed for this decision in year one. He has no attachment to these guys. He's just trying to find the best case to win. And yeah, if you're mad at, these guys for having to go with Deshaun, maybe be a little bit mad at Shedeur for not taking the job at his own right. I mean, Shedeur had a chance, or has a chance, to not even make this a debate. If he comes in and impresses and he's the quarterback and he's performing, then we're not having this discussion. But right now, Shedeur left the door open, and Todd Monken is just trying to find somebody to play quarterback. And you know what? If it is going to be hand the ball off to Judkins and Sampson 30 times a game, it might end up being Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, though, too, guys, it comes down to this. the Browns are going to favor Deshaun Watson. We can call a spade because of the money they still have invested to him. I don't believe that Shedeur Sanders has looked awful, as some have put it at times. We've had conversations here across the network, and I've seen across reporters there at training camp that Shedeur has had strong days. So I'm just this magical thing over the weekend where now Shedeur has looked light years behind Deshaun Watson. I'm not buying it. That's my opinion. I'm not buying it. And the stuff that went down Saturday is the stuff that starts making you question, at least some fans start questioning coaches early on in their career, because Todd Monken said to the media, Shedeur Sanders is going to get the reps. And then all of a sudden, everybody's thrown off when Deshaun Watson's getting all the reps. I understand they're going to try to. I'm not, naive to the fact that they're not going to try to get something out of Deshaun Watson. But I actually disagree with you a little bit, Rob, where he's not in a win-win, because Todd Monken's not 35, 36 years old. This isn't Sean McVay coming into the league in his early 30s and having a chance to get this right, and the Rams investing, saying, we want you here for the next 20, 25 years. No, this is a guy that is 59, if I'm not mistaken, will be 60 at some point throughout the season. He is going to have to get this right and get it right soon. The Browns are on a time clock. They are waiting for the dome to get finished. And when the dome gets finished, they want to have a positive team to put on the field, something that the fans can invest into a new stadium. And if they don't have this right this year, that is one less year to get it right. And then it comes down to 27.
Thing is, what you can see, though, what they're doing, and you guys have mentioned them kind of parenthetically throughout this whole segment. You got Denzel Boston in there. You got the new kid Concepcion in there. You got Fannin. You're getting these pieces that are around the quarterback. And I think, that's what Munkin might be looking at this, saying, all right, who is going to fuck this up the least? And we'll let these big skill pieces do what they're going to do, develop how they're going to develop. We'll wait to see if we have an offensive line, and we'll try to build this offense without the quarterback for a year. That's what they're going to try to do. Mm-hmm. And right now, it's the decision on who we're going to pick to start the season, I think, is almost arbitrary. I think it's just, when it comes down to, and I can't get mad at Todd Monken for having, we have, ground chuck in one corner, and then we have, 3-day-old pork chops in the other corner. You got to make something work, dude. Like, you got to pick one of these things. You can't starve to death. So I can't get mad at Monken for going with the bad option or going with an option in this. And the other thing we have to keep in mind too,
real quick,
yes.
Rob, if you don't use that analogy on TAM this week, I'm going to get on your case.
We'll try it. It'll still be workshop too. I'll see if we can tweak it here a little bit.
Okay.
But the other thing we got to keep in mind too, and much like I say this with every team, with the Guardians especially, with the Browns and the NFL, is that we are confusing the opening day roster and the opening day starter with the person who's going to be doing it all year. And we think that Deshaun, if he starts, is going to play all 17. We think if Shedeur is going to start, it's going to be all 17. This is going to be a rocky, tumultuous quarterback room, I think, the entire year, unless we are surprised by somebody. So we are going to see Shedeur out there. We are going to see Gabriel out there. We are going to see Watson out there. And I understand you want to have the right option out there week one and get everything started off right. And more importantly, you may not want to hand another quarterback, a bad situation walking in week 8 or 9 or whatever it would be. But still, we're going to see these guys throughout the entire season. And I really don't think it's going to be a situation of, with one of them, they're a playoff team, and with the other one, they're not. So.
No. But there's an ideal situation for any franchise, and that's to trot out the best outcome or the best opportunity to create the best outcome on the field. And I said it earlier in the segment. You trot out Deshaun Watson for 5 games, and he looks like garbage. Okay, you now finally have officially seen for about the 5th time that Deshaun Watson's not the answer. But what you do is you limit the opportunity to see what you have with the other young quarterbacks in the room, primarily Shedeur Sanders, and again, to give respect to the guy that's getting more reps day by day, Dylan Gabriel. You are limiting yourself there. So if the Browns, and I said at the beginning of this segment, if the Browns are moving towards 2027, that's okay. If that's their plan, that they just want to at least see what the other offensive weapons look like with whatever they have, then go for it. Then that's fine. But you are literally resting your eggs in that basket, because that's your chance before the dome to get it right. Otherwise, you give yourself a year to quickly turn it around. So that's where I'm at. And the other thing, too, is I understand Todd Monken wasn't here for the drafting of Shedeur Sanders and, of course, not here for the trade of Deshaun Watson. Let's not forget that there's video out there of Todd Monken talking about how they wanted to draft Shedeur Sanders in Baltimore. And when he got in the room, he's hugging him. Hey, we wanted you. So to say there's not any connection to that quarterback room, that's where I differ a little bit.
Okay,
Because
you looked at a prospect and said we wanted to draft you. How many prospects has that happened to in all these coaches' careers? I'm not. That doesn't mean that like Todd Monken's his illegitimate father.
But they don't
or
always
like that.
team up on coaches, Rob. They don't always team up on the same team. The fact that it is there, that is one of the driving points for Todd Monken. There was a young offense that he could help mold. Shedeur Sanders being in that quarterback.
Okay, but with what Double A just said about if Double A's theory is right, where Todd Monken was hired because he had a plan for Watson, what does the connection with Shedeur Sanders matter?
Because it's a quarterback plan, and I don't think the plan is Deshaun Watson. There's still investment from the front office and the ownership in the guy they're spending money on, so they want to see what they have with them. But to say there's no connection between Monken and Shedeur Sanders, I still think there is relevancy there in terms of what he has shown in training camp. To act like the last 2 days there's some insurmountable difference between Watson and Sanders is crazy.
It's also different. It's also different to look at Shedeur Sanders and say, "Hey, we want to draft you to go as our backup to our two-time MVP quarterback who is not going to lose his job to you while you're here," and end up looking at a guy like Shedeur and saying, "We want you to be the franchise for the next 7 years. We see this as your show. We see you as the driver of this car." There's a difference between that. So again, I think that connection's overblown.
But there also, hold on real quick, Double A. There was also questions about Lamar Jackson and his long-term future in Baltimore. Let's not forget that as well. There was also questions about how long Lamar Jackson would be a Raven. So I don't think that was the selling point. That's all I got.
I fully, until the cows could come home, fully believe Todd Monken got this job solely because, not solely, but mostly because he had a plan for Deshaun Watson. And you're seeing it play out right now. You are. You're seeing it play out. Now, Todd Monken did make a mistake. He cannot lie to the media on Saturday. That's a mistake. He cannot.
Was it a lie or was it a change of plans?
According to timeline, Deshaun was told, according to reports, he was told during the warm-up Saturday morning that he was getting the reps before Monken talked to the media. So, again, it's reports, but if that's true, Todd Monken got busted on a lie. He cannot lie like that. If honestly, to be brutally
oh my
honest,
God, he misled us on the job assignment for snaps at quarterback on a Saturday afternoon.
But
no.
But what I was going to say, it's not really that big of a deal if he would have said, Saturday, we're running these packages, Deshaun's in. And that was the plan. But he told the media that Shedeur was getting the reps, and Shedeur did not get the reps. So Todd Monken can't lie to the media. He's going to get busted if he does that. He's in a honeymoon period because it's year one, but that's a mistake he can't make. But that's a learning experience, whatever. The bigger point.
Yeah, he better be honest with his itinerary on training camp from a day-to-day deal, or we just can't stand him as the coach of this. We are so crazy with training camp right now. We are all going through a freaking psychosis.
Well, because the Browns have not won the AFC North in almost 30 years.
And they're not going to win it this year either. Like, that's why we're going, like, we're all pretending that, like, with one of these quarterbacks, they're a 13-4 team, and with the other quarterback, they're a 3-14 team. Like, what's going on here? I mean, like, we all know that to Eli's point, I think they're keeping the seat warm until 2027. They're waiting to see what's going to happen out of this. And I can give you an argument, too, that if you're looking at 2027, you want Deshaun to start. You want this thing to start off with an 0-5 record. You want this thing to be in a contention for the number one overall pick.
And my point is, Shedeur Sanders, who I think is extremely talented, and I think if Shedeur was given the opportunity to start 17 games, would fly. I think he would be he needed to fully beat out Deshaun Watson. Now, camp's not over, and preseason hasn't even started. So there's still time. And you still have joint practices with the Buffalo Bills next week. There's still time. But right now, Watson, in a controlled environment, is thriving. And I'll just say this, as a Browns fan, and I want to make this clear. Even on the air, if Deshaun Watson looks horrible, I'm going to say that he looks horrible. But as a Browns fan, I don't care who's out there. Give me the W. Give me some wins. I don't want to be miserable this fall. I'm sick and tired of being miserable rooting for my football team. I'm sick and tired of it. I'm sick and tired of the routine of Saturday mornings is great for Ohio State Buckeyes football. And then at 1 o'clock, I'm ready to drink. Be like, enough of that.
Yeah, but if anybody,
whoever it is, figure it out. And for Deshaun, I'll just leave it at this. And I know you got more. What do you want your legacy to be? You have one more year of this contract. Like, this is it. Do you want your are you proud of the fact that Browns fans are booing you at practice, which is what's happening? Are you proud of that? Are you proud that every incomplete pass, fans are booing you in practice? Like, most fans, if you go out there and you win in week 1, I don't think most fans are going to sit there and be like, ugh, it should have been Shador. Fans
I disagree.
Happy,
I
whoever
disagree.
it is, whoever gets the W's.
No,
What
I
if he
disagree.
plays good enough? What if he plays good enough to have them want to sign him for another year?
And that's my thing. That's exactly Rob, spot on. That's the thing, is fans can get fooled in a few wins in the regular season if that is the case and Deshaun goes there. And then they can sign another long-term extension for Deshaun Watson and go do the same 5-6 years we just did.
Hold up.
It was less money. It was less money in an older quarterback.
No.
But look what happened with Joe Flacco. They wanted to recreate the magic for a second year, and it didn't happen.
No. Full stop. What the hell is wrong with a few wins when we have not had much of anything at all?
Because
wins. Why are we bull? Why are we talking like a
10
few
spots in the
wins?
if you
draft.
want to convince yourself that Deshaun Watson's a qualified starter in 26, then do it. That's fine.
I want to convince
Then do
myself
it.
that we have any quarterback that can go out there and get W's.
And if you've seen the last 5 to 6 years of Deshaun Watson, you know it. You're a smart guy. You've seen it. But if you want to believe in practice that he can fool you again, and then they ink him to another extent, go for it, Double A. Go for it.
Or they don't ink him to another extension.
No,
They don't ink him to another extension, but they're picking 17.
We're not at that point right now. We're at a point right now where I don't care who's out there. Get us W's. Get us
Deshaun Watson is not
anything.
getting us W's. That's just what it comes down to. We have the track history. That's what it is. That's what it is.
Listen, I know it's all stacked against everything, and I wouldn't bet any money. But I'm just saying, why is it a bad thing if somehow, some way he can get you W's? Why is that a bad thing?
Because I'm fully convinced, based off what I've seen from Deshaun Watson and what I've seen so far in terms of the tumultuous play when he was throwing interceptions early on when they came back for training camp. I'm not convinced he's not going to string enough wins to get to the playoffs, Double A, which is the whole point of winning enough games. And if he doesn't win enough games, to Rob's point, we're stuck drafting in the middle of the first round and we're not getting the quarterback of the future.
What?
So if you're not going to trot out Shador, Dylan Gabriel, and you want to try with Deshaun Watson, you're setting yourselves up for failure either way.
But you're not even opening yourself. I'm sorry, real quick, Rob, real quick. We're not even opening ourselves up to the conversation of Rob's question in the first place. We would be to even be disappointed in the opportunity to be in a position to have W's. That's unacceptable for us as Browns fans. That's unacceptable. Why the hell play the games in the first place if you're upset with somebody getting the wins?
Is there a thing that Deshaun Watson can do this season, realistically, that will convince you that he can be the starting quarterback of this team for the next 4 to 7 years?
He'd have to have first off a winning season, something he hasn't been able to do since he's been in Cleveland. He'd have to have a winning season.
And is that realistic?
No.
Given what we know with Deshaun.
No, not at all.
That's why, to Double A's, and I'm answering Double A's question with that question, is that, okay, with Shedeur, if he wins, if he goes out there and the Browns go 8-9, if the Browns go 9-8 and they miss the playoffs, if they make the playoffs, whatever. But if they make noticeable improvements, you can tell me that, okay, yeah, we're picking 16, we're picking 18, but we found the guy. We found the quarterback. If Deshaun does that, if he wins 6 games, if he wins 8-9 games, they don't make the playoffs. They do. They get knocked out in the first round, whatever the case may be. The exact same season they would have with Shedeur. The exact same season in this scenario. He's not going to be the quarterback in 27, 28, 29, and 30. So if you're picking 17 and you got no quarterback for the future, you're basically where you are right now. And you're still going to be looking for the guy. You don't have Shedeur as an option anymore. You're going to have to go to the draft. And again, you're picking 17. That's why if it's Deshaun, even I can give you an argument why Dylan Gabriel winning games would be better for this team than Deshaun. In that scenario, if they'd have the identical season that Watson and Shedeur would have, you can give an argument that, okay, we found someone that can at least run this offense, for a while here. There is no future with Watson. That's why you really aren't really rooting for a lot of wins out of him.
I think what you would get at, if we're pinpointing 6, that's our magic number. You're pinpointing 6. You're almost, it's a little identical a little bit to the Baker Mayfield situation right now, where it would be a few things you will look into. You will look into, is it possible? Because obviously, you're not paying nobody's paying Deshaun what we have paid. Nobody. So Deshaun's
he's taking a pay cut next year. I think we can safely say
take
that.
A pay cut
wherever he's at.
But I equal this to the Baker situation because, all right, 5 to 7 year deal. It's not happening. Best case scenario though, maybe a 2-year deal. If you get that high mark of W's, maybe a 2-year deal with Deshaun.
But then that goes back to the original question we had at the segment. How are the fan base going to take re-signing Deshaun Watson when it's not for a Super Bowl run? At best, he would be the Alex Smith to Patrick Mahomes. That's what you would be signing, and you would be now signing. Imagine how pissed off the fan base was when they signed him once. Sign him twice and see what happens.
If he's winning.
But I'm not talking about winning. I'm talking about average.
If it's a win improvement, most fans will not care.
I disagree with that.
That's a low bar. I mean, we're talking they win 6 games, it's an improvement.
No fan is going to put up with Deshaun Watson and another losing record and then want to re-sign him.
Jacoby Brissett?
Double A. They would want to move on. No, they move on to the freaking draft, bro, because they're not going to sign a guy that has not put together a winning record. They're not going to go 6 wins from aging Deshaun Watson and move on. No, that's crazy. No.
We didn't have people protesting in front of the stadium when we signed Jacoby. There's a difference there.
Okay, what about the other 40 quarterbacks that we trotted out?
We didn't have people protesting those guys either. That's what I'm talking about. With the baggage that you have, signing him again without really any sort of reason to in the last 4 years? What the hell?
If he's winning games, I'm sorry. You're signing him.
So you're okay with 6 wins?
How many games is winning games?
You're going to sign him.
How many games is winning games?
One at a time. You both were talking at the same time.
Go ahead, Rob.
How many games is winning games?
If our benchmark, we were talking about 6, right? If our benchmark is 6, 7 wins, in this town, that's an improvement. This is why we're stuck in the same boat. That means this young roster's improving, and a 1 to 2 year deal is on the table.
Or you could argue with 6 to 7 wins that he's the setback and the reason they didn't win more games. So it can go either way.
How can you argue that? No, that's not fair. How can you argue that? No, it's not fair, Eli. How can you argue that if Shedeur can't beat him out for the job?
Well, like you said earlier in the segment, training camp isn't done. So we still have to see how it goes.
And at the end of the day, like I said earlier, the Browns have invested money. They want to keep putting their hand on the stove and finding out how hot it is. Me personally, and a lot of fans, are not going to put up with him signing for another 2-3 year extension based off the baggage, based off there's no winning record, based off the track history that he's been unavailable a majority of his Browns career. There's a lot of factors working in. But if you're okay with 6, go ahead, Rob.
You talk about the Baker Mayfield.
Like 2 or 3.
You talk about the Baker Mayfield deal that he's coming off of right now. That's the deal that right now they want to, that they need a new one next year. Baker made the playoffs before that deal was signed. It was that, he had basically a prove-it deal where he was facing Kyle Trask as the quarterback competition, which probably is kind of what Shador is at this point. And he ended up winning it convincingly, and he ended up taking the team to the playoffs. I can argue that, but hey, let's bring this dude back for 2 more years because he won 7 games this year, and he's 31 years old, and he already has $200 million of the team's money and a shoulder injury.
Okay. In Cleveland, that is still progress. In Cleveland, listen, if we're talking about San Francisco or Green Bay or one of these or Buffalo, New England, sure. Obviously, no. You figure something out. In Cleveland, here, where we have not had a strong track record of stringing together W's over time.
You can look at Deshaun Watson and say, hey, since we've really sucked the last 30 years, you only kind of suck, so we're going to extend you.
That kind of is how business works.
They've moved on from other quarterbacks.
That's why they've been there for 30 years.
I'm sorry you guys are pissed about it, but that's how business works.
They literally moved on from the
Hold up.
Crazy.
If you see improvement, I'm not saying long term. Long term doesn't make sense. But if you're seeing improvement where you have 32 teams starving to get a quarterback, a 1 to 2 year deal is not out of the question.
This Browns organization has moved on from quarterbacks with more wins in consecutive seasons. They're not going to sign this guy from a 6-7 game winning season. They're just not going to do that. They're not. They moved on from Baker before. They moved on from other quarterbacks.
Why did they hire Todd Monken?
They're not going to. I promise you.
They didn't hire Todd Monken to win the Super Bowl this year.
They hired Todd Monken to fix to shape the offense, not to fix Deshaun Watson. He's not the one invested in Deshaun Watson. You can say that's part of it. We've also been sitting here all summer long saying he's not going to be on the roster next year. So if all the eggs are in the Deshaun Watson basket, then guess what? We're on a 1 and done with Todd Monken. When this blows up, we're on a 1 and done. If that's the sole reason they brought him in, when this doesn't work, he's done too. They brought him in to fix the entire offense. And like Rob was alluding to earlier, there's other positions on offense that he wants to help shape. And if his mindset is, let's see if I can fix Deshaun Watson, and if it doesn't work, damn, well, at least I can see what I have for a moment with the other guys. And my real chip that I'm playing with in Cleveland is the 2027 NFL draft class. I get my chance at whoever I want that class. It's not solely if it's solely to bring Deshaun Watson in, then this is a colossal failure from the start.
I understand you guys are upset.
I'm not upset. This isn't my team. We got a 41-year-old anti-vaxxer at quarterback. I got my own problems.
I understand there are certain people watching us that are upset by what I'm saying. Business is business. If you got a guy, whether you like him or not, and I don't like him, to be brutally honest, I don't. But if you got a guy who's winning games, I'm going to root for him.
I'm not upset, Double A.
No, I know you're not. I'm just saying in general.
No, I'm confused because you always talk about the standard. Especially with the other two teams now. We destroy the Cavaliers for only making the conference finals. We kick the shit out of the Cleveland Guardians because they've only won 2 divisions in a row with no playoff success. And then we go with the Browns going, yeah, if you win literally a third of the games, if you play 333 ball, 17 divided by 3 is roughly 6. If you win a third of your games, that warrants re-upping, that warrants, keeping you around for longer. after the first 4 years, which has been nothing but problems from day one. I can see if he wins 13 and they go to the conference finals. I can see if they even win the division and win a game in the playoffs. If that happens, then you have to have a serious talk. But 6 wins? 7 wins?
Under a different head coach, right? Under a different head coach. Because then at that point, you could pinpoint Kevin Stefanski and said that he held him back. You could pinpoint that. It's under a different head coach. Maybe according to, Mike Sando's, research. By the way, we'll have him on Midnight Run tomorrow. Under his research from The Athletic, if there's one head coach says Todd Monken can bring the best out of Deshaun Watson. If he's right, 6-7 wins, Deshaun Watson at that point having his best looking season under this hypothetical here. Yeah, you're going to want.
And then I will never want to hear you ever complain about the Browns ever winning more in a season where they win more than 6 games, because at that point in time, we're happy in Cleveland with 6 wins. So yeah, let's just bring everybody back.
About that. No, Rob, don't do that. It's not
no,
just about that.
No, that's no. You were comparing the last 30 years by saying, all right, 6 is good enough.
I'm not saying.
Meanwhile, again, the Cavaliers win 50 games every year and they suck.
That has nothing to do with this. Don't do that. It has nothing to do with that. You're talking progress. All I'm saying is, I don't care who's out there at quarterback. If you're getting the W's for me, I'm happy.
You've also said that this. Yeah, I got your double. You've also said this roster is. You've asked me before on Midnight Run here on the Inside Edge Network. Do you believe in the rest of this roster? Do you believe this roster is at least playoff, caliber, and sure they can challenge for a playoff spot? And we both have answered yes. So if Deshaun Watson, a veteran in the NFL, if he can't walk in, if he is a starter, and produce a winning season over 8 games, then there is no more discussion. We've given him 5-6 seasons. There is no more discussion. If the only issue, which we've talked about on your show here on the network, is the quarterback position, and the veteran in the room can't get it done and get into a winning season, then I can't invest in him. I can't, and I don't want to now.
Here's the key. Even if he won 9 games, you still wouldn't be happy.
Me personally, I don't like the guy, but I'd recognize that he made a hell of a lot more progress.
Entertain the discussion at 9. I would entertain the discussion.
Football wise, I still would never like the character, the person he is, but football wise, I'd have to recognize that he made more improvement under Todd Monken. I would recognize that.
Okay,
but if he doesn't, we can't hold ourselves to 6 wins and go, well, he may get it together in age 31 when he's been here almost longer than half a decade at that point.
I'm just telling you what they're probably going to do. If the benchmark is 6, I'm telling you guys, that's what they're going to do.
And the other question is too, and this is why I always hate, the arbitrary lines of like, well, he keeps his job with this many wins, he gets fired with that many losses. How would these 7, 8, 10, 15 wins come? Is Judkins a 1,700-yard back? Is Sampson 1,000 yards behind him? Is a guy we've never heard of? Was he going to all of a sudden, materialize as the next big thing at running back? Is the offensive line a shit ton better than we think and going to dominate? Is this going to be a ball control offense, or are they going to have 4 wideouts and throwing it like Roger Staubach and the Dallas Cowboys back in the day? How are these wins going to come? Is it going to be, hey, this defense, even without Myles Garrett's giving up 17 points a game, and Judkins in the rushing game can get you 18 to 21 a game? If that's the case, do you put that on Deshaun? We would be having that discussion at the end of the season. Is Deshaun or is Shador or is Gabriel or is AA Anthony Alford the reason why they were doing it? Or is it the offense and the scheme? So, just saying if it's going to be X amount of wins, X amount of losses. No, we got to see how the position plays. If Deshaun Watson, where the Browns would be even tougher at is if, again, in the what-if scenario, if they win 5 games, 6 games, same as they did last year, but Deshaun Watson's a 4,500-yard passer, if, he is, the interceptions are down and the TDs are up and it's the defense that's leaking like a sieve, Like, that's going to be the bigger questions we're going to have to answer. That's going to be so again, like, it's all depends on how this 6 wins or how these 10 wins or how these 17 wins are going to, well, if they go undefeated, I think that's a pretty good case to keep Deshaun, or whoever's the quarterback. But it's, so it's going to be, how are we going to get there is the big question.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. That's what it always going to come down to is just, how's it going to happen? Things like that. All I'm saying is I understand, and we've had a crap ton of comments coming in during this segment.
The Browns getting comments? Who knew?
A crap ton. Again, all I'm saying is this. I know the track record ain't there. There's got to be, I have to imagine there's a reason why he's in this position in the first place. Where
he's getting paid $140 million.
Well, and I cannot deny that I'm not going to deny that that's a big part of it. But we have said about Shedeur Sanders needed to take over this job. He has not done so. And at least in a controlled environment, Deshaun Watson, at this moment, he's pulling ahead. Now we reconvene next Sunday if he's, 2 of 8, for 15 yards and 2 interceptions, then obviously this is going to be a much different conversation next Sunday. But if on the flip side, he's 6 of 8, and leads a touchdown drive, I know it's preseason, but, the Browns don't have a good track record across the board with quarterbacks. You got 1 year left with this guy, with Deshaun. He's younger than me, so I can call him a kid. You got 1 year left with Deshaun. So if they feel he's the best give you the best chance to win, put him out there. Fans want to see a winner. I'm
just saying, though, with Deshaun, with just the lack of long-term possibility and the fact that you are going to be looking for a better pick than not this time, or especially, I know you got the 2 first-round picks, but, having the 8th overall pick and moving up to 2 with the second pick is a lot easier to do if you're picking 17 and you got pick 28 that the Rams gave you, which, by the way, keep an eye on that Rams pick because they are really one Matt Stafford injury away from the Browns having a pretty sweet situation with that.
Definitely. That's a great point, Rob.
But this is the main event here on the Inside Edge Net. We have been yelling about the Browns now for basically a full hour, and I think we have reached our quota. I think we have definitely succeeded with getting that amount of content. And that might be more Browns than we've talked on this show in the last month combined. But yeah, we'll take a quick break here. We're going to come back. We have, speaking of football, we got a new class in Canton. We got Adam Vinatieri now auditioning to be the next Stephen Colbert. And we'll get into the Hall of Fame speeches coming up here. Also, we got news and notes. We'll figure out what we've learned, and we'll try to get you guys out at a decent hour. It's a little bit before 1 o'clock right here, East Coast. We'll try to be quick, but we all know if you've been listening to us before, being quick is one of the few things we're not that good at. But this is the main event here on the Inside Edge Net. We got Eli, we got Double A. I am Rob, and we'll be right back.
Looking for an iconic Cleveland music venue that features premier entertainment, spirits, and food? Well, look no further than the Brothers Lounge. They offer a variety of live entertainment acts weekly, along with a diverse selection of beer, wine, and fine spirits, not to mention Chef Wynn's food menu, which has been crafted with traditional American fare with a modern twist. So come on out and enjoy the warm hospitality and make some new friends right here in your backyard. For more information, head over to brotherslounge.com and check them out for yourself at 11609 Detroit Road. That's right near the border of Cleveland and Lakewood. The Brothers Lounge, proud sponsor of the Inside Edge Network, Cleveland's digital leader.
Key On Sports is the leader in Ohio high school athletic coverage in written, print, and video streaming. From the latest news and results and written content to the high school football game of the week every Friday, Key On Sports has you covered. The vision of 15-time published author Vince McKee has become the most trusted site in Ohio high school athletic news. From podcasts to player profiles, Key On Sports is your one-stop for all of it. Visit them today at keyonsports.com or on YouTube at Key On Sports. Check out their socials on Twitter and Facebook as well.
Please support the new Inside Edge Network by liking, subscribing, and following us on your favorite social media platforms. That's at Inside Edge Net across Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, X, and IG. And don't forget to download our new app over on Roku. And as always, thank you for supporting your favorite shows on the Inside Edge Network, Cleveland's digital leader for news, talk, sports, entertainment, and mental health. Fanatics isn't just our name, it's who we are. Loyal, passionate fans, dedicated to our favorite teams and to the sports we love. That's why we're honored to be able to offer fans the world's largest collection of official sports apparel and sports jerseys from all leagues, teams, and players you love. We feature a wide selection of gear from every league, including the NFL, MLB, NBA, NHL, and NCAA merchandise, which allows us to serve fans of football, baseball, hockey, basketball, lacrosse, soccer, golf, and everything else that gets your heart pumping. Go to InsideEdgeNetwork.com under our Partners section to find our link to check out all of what Fanatics has to offer. Fanatics, a proud sponsor of the Inside Edge Network, Cleveland's digital leader. Clean energy, bold flavors, no jitters. See why people won't shut up about Dubby. Whether you're starting your workday or getting ready to exercise, Dubby Energy helps you lock in and focus. Over 15 different flavors to choose from. Order Dubby Energy right now and find out more information by checking out our partners page on InsideEdgeNetwork.com. Also, use that promo code InsideEdge10 to receive 10% off your order. Dubby Energy, your energy-focused sponsor of the Inside Edge Network, Cleveland's digital leader. Discover our collection of handcrafted candles made with clean, minimal ingredients. Every product thoughtfully created in small batches free from harmful toxins for mindful everyday indulgence. Imported coconut soy wax with natural wood wicks to offer long-lasting burn and rich fragrance. Find out more about Alley Rose Fragrances by checking out their link on our partners page at InsideEdgeNetwork.com. And if you're a first-time customer, use the promo code InsideEdge20 to receive 20% off your order. AlleyRoseFragrances.com, a proud sponsor of the Inside Edge Network, Cleveland's digital leader. Dine, drink, and dance at the premier spot in town. It's time to check out all of what our friends over at the Brothers Lounge have to offer. Everything from weekly live entertainment, a wide variety of different beers, wines, and spirits, and an expertly crafted American fare menu with a twist courtesy of Chef Wynn that'll make your mouth water. So, what are you waiting for? Head over to the Brothers Lounge at 11609 Detroit Road or check out their website, brotherslounge.com, to learn more about what you've been missing out on. Brothers Lounge, proud sponsor of the Inside Edge Network, Cleveland's digital leader. Whether searching for a baseball autograph by your favorite World Series slugger, a signed football by an iconic Hall of Famer, or the jersey of a world-famous soccer star, you've come to the right place. Here at SportsMemorabilia.com, the web's leading source for authentic sports memorabilia, you'll find more than 500,000 authentic products from nearly every professional sports league, team, and players. Not only will you find your next prized sports possession with ease, thanks to superb customer service and tremendous site experience, you'll have satisfaction and peace of mind that every product listed comes complete with a certificate of authenticity and is fully backed by the SportsMemorabilia.com Lifetime Authenticity Guarantee. Check out SportsMemorabilia.com by heading over to the Partners page on our website, InsideEdgeNetwork.com. SportsMemorabilia.com, a proud sponsor of the Inside Edge Network, Cleveland's digital leader. Discover our collection of handcrafted body mists made with clean, minimal ingredients. They offer a natural alternative to synthetic fragrances, perfect for sensitive skin and those seeking clean, mindful self-care, and the perfect gift for you and your special someone. Learn more about all Alley Rose Fragrances has to offer right now by clicking the link on our partner page at InsideEdgeNetwork.com. First-time customers use that promo code InsideEdge20 to receive 20% off your order. AlleyRoseFragrances.com, a proud sponsor of the Inside Edge Network, Cleveland's digital leader. Monster Moments Photography is a husband and wife wedding photography team based in Cleveland, owned and operated by Inside Edge Network's very own Ryan Mosser and his wife Hallie. For the past 10 years, they've captured more than 100 weddings across Northeast Ohio and beyond, always working together as a true two-person team. Their style centers on authentic, emotional storytelling, documenting the real moments between two people in love and creating images that feel natural, comfortable, and true to the couple. Rooted in Northeast Ohio, but inspired by their travels, Ryan and Hallie bring a warm, personal approach to every wedding day. Their work blends experience, consistency, and a genuine passion for helping couples relive their best day through timeless photography. Learn more by checking out Monster Moments Photography's link on our partners page at the InsideEdgeNetwork.com website. Monster Moments Photography, a proud sponsor of the Inside Edge Network, Cleveland's digital leader. Find us on InsideEdgeNetwork.com for the latest information on your favorite shows, personalities, and network partners. Plus, we have a merch shop. That's right, we have network polos, t-shirts, champion jackets, hats, and bottles. Rep the network. Every purchase supports independent sports and entertainment media. Thank you for your support from all of us here at the Inside Edge Network, Cleveland's digital leader for news, talk, sports, entertainment, and mental health.
Hi, everybody. This is the main event on the Inside Edge Net. We got Double A in the middle. He is flanked by myself and Eli Moon. We are in segment 3. We had a spirited Browns discussion that only went about 40 minutes over. So, yeah, we'll get some clips up on TikTok. Anything you might have missed on that one. I know I got a big response on the social medias. Who knew the Browns were a hot button topic? But yes, I don't know if this is as hot button of a topic, but also we're actually talking about good football players in this situation, but we have the NFL. They had their yearly convenience in Canton, Ohio, with the NFL Pro Football Hall of Fame class of 2026. Drew Brees, Larry Fitzgerald, Luke Kuechly, Adam Vinatieri, and Roger Craig are now enshrined in Canton, Ohio. Do we have, before we move on to next year's first ballot class, which is going to be, we'll just say constipated for the halls of Canton here, before we get to next year's class, any impressions out of this year's class and the speeches? I hear Adam Vinatieri was quite the jokester during his little performance there.
Yeah, no, I thought Adam Vinatieri was incredible. I did not think he was that funny. But he was really funny. Pops and I were sitting there watching it. We were both busy yesterday, so we watched a lot of it today. Didn't get to finish it, just full transparency. I got to go back and watch Drew Brees' speech and Roger Craig's. But I thought Vinatieri was hilarious. I mean, the fact that he was just, he first off showed a ton of humility and, was like, thank you to, everybody that took a chance on me and all this. And I thought it was so funny. I looked at Pop Moon at this point because he goes, and I want my kids to remember, treat everybody with respect. And then he unleashed about 10 to 15 minutes of hell on everybody. I mean, from McAfee to Bill Belichick to Tom Brady, saying his favorite Patriots quarterback wasn't able to make it, Drew Bledsoe. I mean, it was just hilarious. And it's kind of cool, too, because he's the third pure kicker in NFL's history to be in the Hall of Fame. So I think that's really pretty cool in its own right. Luke Kuechly getting in, I mean, that's like one of those guys you have a discussion about. Such a short career, it feels like, in terms of other careers, but so impactful to the likes of Megatron and some of these other shorter careers that were just so impactful that they had enough highlights for 15 years worth of footage, essentially. Like, it was very fun. I thought the 26th class was spot on. A few things I did mention on primetime last week I was a little surprised by was, again, we highlighted it when it happened, Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft not being in. Once Belichick was announced he wasn't getting in, I had a feeling Kraft would suffer the same fate. I understand the stuff with Belichick. It's just kind of surreal now that it's a thing that he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer. And then the other one is just Eli Manning as well. I thought just a Manning name and how much the Manning name gets a ton of love. I would have thought based off that and Brady, the 2 Super Bowls over Brady, I thought he'd almost get in as the dark horse first ballot.
My question with the Patriots conundrum with the the Bob Kraft and the Belichick deal. First off, I think I heard of Jordan Hudson. She is going to be filing an information request on who wrote the Adam Vinatieri joke about the cheerleading competition.
Yeah, that's coming.
But at the same time, do you think that they kind of just said, if we put any one of these guys in first, all this ceremony is going to be is about that guy and the other guy, and not maybe so much about Drew Brees or Luke Kuechly or Larry Fitzgerald? Like, this is going to consume whatever induction weekend is going to take, this is going to happen. And if it's Belichick, if it's Kraft first, all it is just going to be bitching about why is that person in and not the other one. You think the Hall of Fame just said, you know what, we'll just not put either one of them in and not deal with any of this bullshit?
I think it's possible.
I would. I don't think they're out of line for doing it.
Yeah, I think it's very possible. I will say this. I think if you get to that point, Belichick should get in probably first, because Belichick's career spans even beyond New England. Like in New England itself should be enough, but even his time here in Cleveland and working with Bill Parcells, like he's a smart football mind. So you do have that. I want to pick back real quick off of Eli's point about Eli Manning. You know who I think hurt Eli Manning's case a little bit? His brother, because his brother had to win a second Super Bowl. The one thing that Eli Manning had over Peyton, the 2 Super Bowls versus the 1. Peyton got that second with Denver, so that argument is out of the window. So that'll make it a bit tough for Eli Manning.
Well, and we'll talk a little bit about next year's. I want to keep hitting this year's class, but you look at Eli, and he's going to have an issue next year now, because one of the guys that he was drafted with, one of the guys that he's been compared to pretty much his entire career, who also has 2 Super Bowls, Ben Roethlisberger, he's going to be eligible too. So, again, it's not going to be nearly as combative or nearly as dramatic as the Kraft v. Belichick situation. But you might have some people asking, like, hey, why did we put the black and gold guy in first when, the other one that has 2 Super Bowls and beat Brady twice, by the way, he's still waiting to get in. So I think, they're going to have this is going to be a big logjam over the next few years, because they're going to have a lot of, qualified candidates, but so many spots every year.
Yeah, but I hate to be this guy for a moment, but the NFL loves stories. Arch Manning's going to be in the NFL, drafted next season.
Is he? He can stick around for a 5th year. He's allowed.
He sure can, Rob. But all signs.
And he's also getting paid.
Yes, but all signs point to him being, they're expecting a good year out of him in Texas. I'd imagine he'll be drafted this upcoming season. So what
Question,
I'm saying
though, is, and I know I don't want to take it too far off, but like, what if, he is the number 1 overall prospect, he's going to be the number 1 overall pick, and it's the Jets or the Browns. He could theoretically go back into college and just be like, because you saw what his uncle did, said, I don't want to go to San Diego, I'm going to go to New York. That family has been known to manipulate the draft process before. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion Arch is in there for 4 years.
No, I mean, I get that, but high probability based off everything, we've heard is he is going to be. So based off of that, I'm going to say the NFL loves stories. Eli didn't get the first ballot, so now you can say, okay, he wasn't first ballot. There's no argument there. But they're going to make Ben wait, I think, at least a year or 2. It's the same kind of discussion we have, and I know his was earlier on in his career, but we're talking about off-the-field stuff. Obviously, there's some stuff with Ben Roethlisberger. I think that will affect his case with some voters, and he'll be a 2nd, maybe 3rd round of ballots getting in the Hall of Fame. I think Eli does get in next year. I think if we're talking about a quarterback that gets in, I think he'll be the face so they can set it up. Because if I'm not mistaken, Tom Brady, I think, can be eligible in 2 years, if I'm not mistaken.
That's what I just looked up. If it's the year after, it'll be 28. So if Manning or Roethlisberger doesn't, they're not going to go in 28. It's just not going to happen.
No, that's right.
Get in where you can.
Yeah, exactly. I think, and then I'll hand it off to you, Double A. I think it's going to be Eli. If I was just predicting, and I've been wrong before, and that's okay, but I think it's going to be Eli Manning next year as the quarterback face, Ben Roethlisberger the year after, and then obviously we're not arguing. It's Tom Brady in 28.
I agree with that. Real quick on this class. First off, Adam Vinatieri, I think he's just secured a television deal, podcasting deal. He has an open invitation to come up work on this network. But if he turns us down, he has an open invitation anywhere, because that was a very legendary Hall of Fame roast.
Oh, his former holder has a pretty good afternoon show on ESPN, I think, if he wants to go do that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So kudos to Vinatieri, and he obviously deserves it. The most clutch kicker ever. Watching him, win those Super Bowls, play with both Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. He separated himself too. Remember early on was him and Mike Vanderjagt.
Yeah.
And then
he replaced Vanderjack.
Yeah, Vanderjack. He choked. I think against the Steelers.
That was the idiot kicker game. That was
Yeah, Jerome Bettis saved your season, and then Vanderjack just did whatever the hell he was doing there.
Actually, it was Ben Roethlisberger that saved the season. Jerome Bettis fumbled the ball. Nick Harper picked it up.
Yes.
And unbeknownst to most fans, Nick Harper was in the hospital earlier. Actually, we can make a case it's Nick Harper's wife that saved our season. Yes. Because we found out after the game that Nick Harper was in the hospital that week because his wife stabbed him in the knee over a domestic disturbance. And I wanted to send that bitch a fruit basket. I really did. Man. Because that was the only reason why Ben could get a shoelace on that tackle, and that saved the season. And then, the call that will live in Pittsburgh forever is call the travel agent. We're going to Denver. It was the end of that game.
Real quick, we're going to have a bigger discussion on the airwaves at some point. Roger Craig, his tape message, I believe he mentioned ALS.
Parkinson's, I believe. Dementia, something along that line. And he believed that football was a contributing factor anyway.
Right. So when we have more time, on Inside Edge Network, we'll address that at some point this week. Drew Brees. I'm so happy for Drew Brees. Drew Brees, one of my all-time favorite quarterbacks ever, one of my all-time favorite fantasy football quarterbacks. That's what makes it strange for me. It's like watching guys I had on fantasy football in the Hall of Fame. That's just strange to me. But hearing his journey, going to New Orleans, how he was dead set on Miami. He was dead set on going to the Dolphins. They were ready to go. They had a ready-made system. Nick Saban. They were just coming off. They were on the up and up. All they needed was a quarterback. And then they ran full days worth of testing as if basically to say they didn't believe in Drew Brees. Meanwhile, this unknown coach named Sean Payton and the New Orleans Saints, they're rolling out the red carpet. It's right after Hurricane Katrina, and Drew Brees turned to his wife saying, my purpose here is bigger than football. Mm-hmm. And he fulfilled that. He, uplifted an entire city and won a Super Bowl out of that. Congrats to everybody. Congrats to Drew Brees. Seriously.
Well, and Brees represents kind of like one of those players, and you talk about that Dolphins QB search, and you think about it now that they decided to go with Dante Culpepper over Drew Brees, and that was the choice they made. Nick Saban as a story in that character, or in that character in that story. What would have happened if they went with Brees? Does Nick Saban even think about coaching Alabama football? What happens to college football in that situation? If the Chargers stick with Drew Brees, where does Phillip Rivers go? Because remember, they drafted Phillip Rivers as kind of a blanket, as kind of a backup plan to Brees because they thought that elbow was shot. So, the amount of things that were kind of around Brees that, what ifs, because he was drafted, I believe, the same year LT was in San Diego. So imagine if those guys would have had a chance to age and get better. And does Drew Brees even become Drew Brees if he doesn't run into Sean Payton? And what does Sean Payton do? And, he's now one of the more respected voices in the NFL. He's, on the verge of doing something with Denver after he did it with the New Orleans Saints. So
with Bo Nix, right.
There's a lot of teetering points that I think Drew Brees was kind of in the middle of unwillingly, but he had more to say about the modern era of football, college and pro, indirectly than almost anybody else.
Yeah, and I think also we talk all the time about what championships mean more in sports. If you win 6 somewhere, but if you win a championship in Cleveland, for example, with the Cavaliers, what does that mean for a legacy? And I think the one championship that Drew Brees does have in New Orleans is strong enough, at least for the people of New Orleans and a lot of other NFL fans, is about as strong as some guys' 3 or 4 championships because of all the other accolades he has, the passing yards, the completion percentage is strong, touchdowns galore. He didn't ever throw a ton of interceptions. He was just really your quarterback. You're like, hey, he's a gamer. He's what everybody wants Justin Herbert to be in Los Angeles right now. They picture this Drew Brees kind of esque thing, and I know obviously Herbert a Charger, Brees primarily a Saint, but that's kind of like what they're hoping for in Los Angeles. The big arm can just air it out, and it hasn't clicked for Herbert, but that's kind of the same standard they have there in LA. They want to see him be that big arm guy, and Drew Brees set the mold for that for not only Herbert but also other guys as well. Mahomes, Allen, like the big arm quarterback, at least for the 2000s on, was set by Drew Brees.
And the cool thing about it is all those guys you named, Josh Allen, he is a gazelle. He is 6'6". He is huge. Herbert's about as tall, 6'5", 6'4", something like that. Mahomes, he's a big boy. He built the mold for this kind of big-time, big-arm quarterback at 6 foot tall. And I think that was probably generous.
Yes.
So, the fact that, you're asking these tree people, these giants, these sequoias, to do what this dude, Drew Brees, who could walk down the street and at least on first glance probably blend in pretty well to normal society. I mean, again, 6 foot, 200 pounds, he looks like you or me or anybody else here. So, he did all that while, the Giants and, these huge human beings are having some issues doing what Drew Brees did.
And real quick, Larry Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Man, just so many highlight plays, just a constant. Larry Fitzgerald was never, who's the best receiver in the NFL? His name was never the first one that you listed, but he was one of those names, if you left off of your list, we would all say, what are you thinking?
Right.
How did you forget about him? Just reliable Arizona. Honestly, it didn't matter who the quarterback was in Arizona, but obviously his connection with Kurt Warner was great. I remember in particular, I think it was a Green Bay Packers Arizona playoff game where Fitzgerald has had it just making crazy plays down the stretch in the playoffs. Al Michaels is going, and Collinsworth, they're going crazy, going over, over his plays and stuff. The absolute standard of excellence, Larry Fitzgerald, and he's doing big things. And then Luke Kuechly, you're going to know more about Luke. He's working for Netflix for their football, for their NFL games.
Yeah.
So he's one of those guys. Apparently, personality-wise, he might be the next Greg Olsen.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to add about Fitzgerald, too. The one thing I thought was cool is he ran into a ton of stars in his career that he learned from. He mentioned that in his Hall of Fame speech, getting a chance to talk to Warren Moon for, a moment, getting to talk to Emmitt Smith. He talked about walking in there, his rookie year or second year, with Emmitt Smith sitting there in the locker room and, getting conversations with Randy Moss and just guys he was able to learn from. And he credited that to a lot of the guys that are greats that are either sitting in a Hall of Fame jacket or at least had a pretty strong career. And I thought that was really cool for him to pay homage to a lot of the guys that have helped shape his career. And he talked about it a lot in his speech about being a student of the game, basically always wanting to learn. And I just thought his speech was really, really good for, like Double A said, a guy that never really was the flashiest guy. He just put his head down, went to work, and he did his job very, very efficiently. I mean, there's a discussion to be had about where he ranks all time in receivers because, I mean, the accolades are there. He's right there almost against Jerry Rice in terms of statistics in a few categories. So I think Larry Fitzgerald definitely needs to get his flowers a little bit more. Obviously, this weekend was a good thing for him. And then the other guy we were mentioning as well, Roger Craig. Papa Moon told me a little bit about Roger Craig and said, man, during those Super Bowl runs with the Niners, man, Roger Craig was a bad man. He was tearing it up. So Papa Moon was happy to see Roger Craig in. It was cool because, Papa Moon and I both now got to see these guys play, and we could actually have a conversation about a Hall of Fame where he saw Roger Craig and, of course, everybody else, and I saw the rest of the guys. So it was good to have a conversation. But, yeah, Roger Craig, Papa Moon said he's going to give me a little more hip to those Niners teams because there's some unsung heroes, and Roger Craig's one of them. We talk about Rice. We talk about Montana. Of course, we talk about Steve Young when the transition period happens and all that, but we don't really talk about guys like Roger Craig until this moment when they're recognized by the committee and get into this moment. So pretty cool, though. I really have no complaints. We talked about Belichick. We talked about Manning and Kraft. I get that. I really don't have any complaints. This was a really solid class, man.
For Fitzgerald, here's a couple of things I want to bring up. First off, University of Pittsburgh, sneaky good football school. They now, with Larry Fitzgerald, have more members in the Pro Football Hall of Fame than Ohio State does.
Wow.
And
Don't
we're
let people in
talking,
Columbus hear that, buddy.
and we're not talking about jobbers here. We're talking about Fitzgerald, Darrelle Revis, Curtis Martin, Dan Marino's in there, Tony Dorsett, Mike Ditka's in there. So we're talking about some actual talent here.
And Aaron Donald to come.
Aaron Donald, he's on his way too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then the other thing too, he is responsible, Larry Fitzgerald, for one of my favorite stats in the NFL. He has 29 career pass drops. He has 41 tackles. He is a receiver that has more tackles than drops.
I mean, that's insane. I mean, and the thing about it too with Fitzgerald, just for a second here, I know we got to go to break in a little bit here, but what I will say about Fitzgerald too is, we talk about all the time, is there a possession receiver or are you a breakout receiver? Are you going to get in space and make a play? And then maybe we worry about the other one. Okay, if you can catch the ball very well, maybe you're not, that breakthrough speed. And if you're fast, you may not have hands. Larry Fitzgerald was like everything you were looking for in a receiver. He caught the ball at an efficient rate, like Rozycki just mentioned, and he would blow past the second, third wave of defense and beat to the house. I mean, he had walk-off touchdowns in the playoffs, like Double A was mentioning. I mean, this guy was so much fun. And again, I mean, we talk about all the time with receivers and, with A.J. Brown this past few seasons. And, of course, the stories with Terrell Owens and some of these other guys. And I rock with a lot of these guys I just mentioned. Larry Fitzgerald was never in the news for, I'm mad I got 3 targets today. If they asked him about it, it was the game plan. Hey, we ran more, David Johnson or whoever was the running back at the time, it was his day. He never caused a stink, and like Double A said, with any quarterback, Rob. Any quarterback. Kurt Warner, of course. But let's not forget he also had Josh Rosen at a time and other pretty bad quarterbacks.
This is where I'm going, Moon. Josh McCown, Sean King, John Navarre, Kurt Warner, Tim Rattay, Matt Leinart, Brian St. Pierre, Derek Anderson, remember that one over there? Kevin Cobb. Do you remember who Max Hall was? I don't think he does. John Skelton, Richard Bartell, Brian Hoyer, Ryan Lindley, Carson Palmer, Drew Stanton, Blaine Gabbert, Josh Rosen, Sam Bradford, Brett Hundley, Mike Glennon, Kyler Murray. That is your Hall of Fame quarterback roster for Larry Fitzgerald, who, by the way, I do have to dog a little bit because you weren't as fast as you needed to be every play of every game. You needed about one more step to catch James Harrison in the Super Bowl for the 99-yard interception return. Remember, that was the tackle, the last tackle that Harrison broke before he got into the end zone. But again, like probably on the list of greatest players in NFL history to never win a Super Bowl, I would think Larry Fitzgerald, and he's probably the greatest player in Cardinals history. I don't know if there's really anybody else throughout the years that really could kind of, we might be able to look back at, maybe somebody in this, in the 50s or 40s, but I don't think that there's really anybody that comes to mind anyway who was a Pat Tillman, but he didn't have quite the resume on the field. I mean, obviously we know the story afterwards.
All around for what he did off the field, Pat.
Correct. Yeah. I just, maybe, and then you could argue Kurt Warner, even though he didn't have a substantial amount of time there, his impact, and Fitzgerald mentioned in his speech, he dragged him to the winner's circle with him. He said, he brought him into that moment to where he realized he could reach that top echelon early in his career. And I think Kurt Warner you could talk about. And then the other guy to mention, if we are talking about Cardinals greats, is Patrick Peterson, who doesn't get a ton of,
but he didn't play really a whole lot of his career there. I mean, he was bouncing around for half of it here. Maybe Aeneas Williams back in the day. I mean, he was a hell of a defensive back. But again, we're really stretching for it. Larry Fitzgerald's the only one we're talking about that was a Kurt Warner, first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah, no, I get it. Peterson played, it looks like, a decade with Arizona. So that's why I mentioned him. He played his first 10 years in Arizona. Okay. Yeah, he was one of the only constants in Arizona once it was him and Fitzgerald for a moment, because Peterson was drafted in 2011. So he was there for a good portion of, the second kind of act of Larry Fitzgerald. So that's why I mentioned him. Just wanted to give him his flowers because he was one of my favorites growing up. But yeah, Rob, I get it. It does feel like some of these guys nowadays, it feels like they're only there for 4 or 5 years, and you look back and you're like, you spent a decade.
Yeah, Larry Fitzgerald is your Jose Ramirez of Arizona Cardinals. I mean,
and he did it with one team too. I think that should also be recognized too, especially in this modern. Like he might be one of the few Hall of Famers in the previous next five that go in with just one team.
The problem we're gonna have, I don't know if we're gonna have time to go over the 2027 Hall of Fame class tonight. Might have to wait, but the problem we're gonna run into because of television, because all of us or most of us are in fantasy football or gambling or greater access to the games and stuff, you're going to have issues determining who gets left off of these ballots,
right?
Because we're in our generation, our area, we're looking at a good chunk of these players and saying, "Yep, Hall of Fame, Hall of Fame, Hall of Fame, Hall of Fame. They should get in. They should get in." They all can't get in,
right?
And I think you're going to see more issues with that moving forward because we have access to all these players. And we got to remember too, there are still players from back in the day that deserve to get in.
Yeah.
So there's going to be some really great players that we love that are not, for one reason or another, because there's few spots. We just need to be prepared that they're not going to all get in the Hall of Fame.
No, because we'll go into it, I'm sure, later on. But even the guys that are not in, but not first ballot, like you're talking Terrell Suggs, you're talking Frank Gore, and then you got the whole Belichick Kraft fiasco out there. Like you got a lot of quality players that, that are just going to be waiting to get in from 3, 4, 5 years ago, and. And I guess that might be even a bigger discussion too of like how big is too big for something like this for the NFL or MLB or basketball Hall of Fame. Like, do we need to basically start kind of a second tier within that building to kind of be like, okay, here's the best of the best and here's everybody else because we have 500 people in here.
Yeah, I think they maybe just need to be a little more selective. The last thing I'll say about this too is the restarting of some of these clocks on some of these players, like Phillip Rivers. I still am trying to fact check, but I'm pretty sure his clock is now officially restarted, and he has to wait 5 years again. So
the second he was put on the 40-man roster, that happened. Yeah,
right. Yep. So you have Rivers. Aaron Donald has not officially signed as a Ram. I have a good hunch. I think a few of us have a good hunch that he's going to be a Ram. You saw the transaction or the activity log on the NFL Schefter the other day from ESPN posting that Donald did a workout because he wore a Rams helmet. So. Another guy that could restart his clock that was almost ready to be Hall of Fame eligible. And you've seen it again, Tom Brady, with the quick talk of retirement and coming back. So I think that's a thing too that kind of puts a little bit of murkiness there too. Is Aaron Donald, if he comes back, on top of Phillip Rivers just coming back last year, you have guys that may retire with some of the guys we're talking about at the end of their career right now. So now it makes it even more of a muddier situation.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think this was something they kind of forecast when it comes down to the size of these organizations. Like, Major League Baseball Hall of Fame, the first class, I think, was in 1936. So, we're talking about, within a decade now, the centennial class being put in. And, when you just have, so many great players. And, I agree with you, Eli. You kind of go up and down these lists for, with the NFL anyway. Yeah, that guy's in, that guy's in, that guy's in, that guy's in. And, you want to be selective, but, you don't want to look at, Eli Manning and Ben Roethlisberger and say, all right, well, no, we're not going to put, because those guys should go, maybe not first ballot, but they should go no matter what. Yeah. And so I think it'll be kind of curious to see how we react to, that whole deal with the sheer volume of people. And then we brought it up a little bit too with some of these candidates this year, next year, the following year. How much is their TV persona and because Cam Newton's one of these guys next year, how much does his, divisiveness on TV roll into it? How much does Antonio Brown's off-field behavior roll into it? Right. So we're going to be asking ourselves a lot of questions on this because historically that's never been the case. Right. Ty Cobb, we all know a lot of the stupid stuff he was doing when he was playing. He was still put in the first second they could get him in there. That was when the Hall of Fame opened its doors. So, how much is that going to play into a lot of these guys' cases? You mentioned Ben's off-field stuff. You can even say, compared to Antonio Brown, that was when Ben Roethlisberger was a 25-year-old dude. That was 20 years ago. so on and so forth. So there's going to be a lot of permutations and a lot of debate with a lot of these players. So, and I'm going to feel bad for a dude like Andrew Whitworth, who is, deserving as a lineman to go, but I got a feeling he's going to be just lost in the shuffle year after year. I mean, Alex Mack's in that class too, technically. Where does he fit into this whole mess?
Right.
So,
there's
going to be a lot of guys kind of ignored.
Yeah, and to add on to that, Rob, my final point on this is the one thing Whitworth has going for him is the same thing you kind of just mentioned about TV and the personas, where some guys, it may be, some people get fatigued, they're tired about it. Whitworth has been on television for some pregame shows, and he's done a good job of it, and he's never really overstayed his welcome, so it might help him because now he's got a little more familiarity with a national audience that didn't get to see him play for the Cincinnati Bengals and didn't get hip to him until he won a Super Bowl with the Rams.
That's a great point.
And that's what I was going to bring up, too. He pulled the Jerome Bettis. His last game of his career was the Super Bowl, and there was some publicity around it, so that probably helps him out, too. But again, are you going to look at Andrew Whitworth, or are you going to look at Terrell Suggs? Are you going to look at Andrew Whitworth, or are you going to say Ben Roethlisberger? There's kind of a hierarchy to all this stuff, and it's going to be curious to see how these voters sort it out. And again, what happens with the whole ownership and coach of the New England Patriots? And do either one of them get in before the damn quarterback does? Because Tom Brady's going in 20, unless he gets into a white Bronco with Al Collins and gets on national TV and drives to elude murder charges, we're going to deal with Tom Brady's acceptance speech in 2028. It's going to happen.
He'll still do a speech from a jail cell. That won't.
And if you do, and if he is going in 2028, do you just say, screw it, we're going to either wait on Eli or put him in the same year just to troll Thomas Edward Patrick Brady? So, there's going to be, it's going to be interesting to see for sure.
Oh, they got to do it. I didn't even think about that. They got to do that. They have to do that.
They do. And then they got to, and then put Eli headlining so that they're like, look, and they got to get a third time, Brady. You got your No, all right. That's all I got. That's all I got, man. I love the Hall of Fame, though, man.
Tom Brady opens the ceremony. And it's like, all right, our headliners, we're going to roll out the red carpet for Eli Manning. But Tom Brady doesn't even get to do the speech on stage. He has to go on 77.
Yeah.
Or no, he gets to present Eli Manning. That's what he can do. That's what, yes, he can say. I think it would be appropriate because if it wasn't for Tom Brady, Eli Manning would not be in the Hall of Fame.
Honestly, would it shock you guys if Eli requested Tom Brady to induct him instead of Peyton?
See, I think it's going to be.
I hope Peyton requests Tom to do it for Eli. That's what I hope happens.
See, I think the clear answer for Eli Manning, I feel like, on a serious note, is going to be Peyton Manning. The other dark horses I have, though, Tom Coughlin or David Tyree. That's who I think will induct Eli Manning. Those are, Coughlin believed him as the coach, Peyton's his brother, and David Tyree made the most notable catch of Eli Manning's career. So, I don't know, man. It'll be fun. But, hey, at least we don't have to make the decisions. We just get to discuss it and say what they got right or wrong.
And thank goodness it's not under baseball Hall of Fame rules where there's a percentage of votes and there's a cutoff after, 15 years? Yeah. There's a cutoff,
10.
That's not
10 years you're on the ballot for,
Yeah, thank goodness pro football does not operate that way. Thank goodness.
Yeah, agreed.
Well,
yeah.
But, I heard a quote from Pete Rozelle back in the day was, during the draft, we look to the future. During the Hall of Fame deal, we look to the past, and then we play our season. We look in the present. So, okay, that's what we're going to do. And we'll have some football content, I'm sure, over the next couple of weeks leading up into the season. I do have a homework assignment for you two gentlemen, and I think we should place some sort of punishment on this bet if we are wrong. Next week, I'm going to want from you 3 teams that you are 100% guaranteed will make the playoffs under penalty of perjury or punishment. And then I want 3 teams that you will guarantee the same way will not make the NFL playoffs. Again, same punishments will apply. We will look in the context section for any sort of punishment ideas, keeping in mind that neither one of us have really that great of health insurance, so you got to be kind with the punishments.
Wait, so all we got to do is actually just do the assignment. We don't have to be right on the assignment. I mean, obviously
No, you have to.
right.
Well, no, the punishment will be if you are wrong by the end of the season. I want to have a series of picks here that we will be judged upon by the end of the season, and I think this will be the first week that we can do this on. And we'll also, I think, me and AA were kind of pitching around the idea of network-wide picks throughout the season.
Yeah.
And maybe a fantasy football league. We shall see, though. It seemed like he kind of cooled on that. I don't know if it was because he doesn't want to do it or because whenever AA does a fantasy football league with us, it doesn't end well.
He gets so mad.
I was in the semifinals last year. I want to thank Kyle Pitts for his outstanding Week 15 performance, knocking playoff contender Mac Robinson off the board, the champion contender off the board.
Who did you lose to in the semifinals?
We'll be right back here on the main event on the Inside Edge Net. I am Rob Rozycki. We got AA Anthony Alford, Eli Moon. AA, did you remember who you listened? What's up?
No, I'm kidding. Go to break.
All righty. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll get one more segment in here. We'll go through a couple of news and notes here. Again, we'll try to be expeditious about this whole thing. Figure out what we've learned, and then we'll let everybody start their week in peace and get to bed at some decent hour here on this Sunday night. Again, for everybody here, AA Anthony Alford, Eli Moon, I am Rob Rozycki. This is the main event on the Inside Edge Net, and we will be back.
Looking for an iconic Cleveland music venue that features premier entertainment, spirits, and food? Well, look no further than the Brothers Lounge. They offer a variety of live entertainment acts weekly, along with a diverse selection of beer, wine, and fine spirits, not to mention Chef Wynn's food menu, which has been crafted with traditional American fare with a modern twist. So come on out and enjoy the warm hospitality and make some new friends right here in your backyard. For more information, head over to brotherslounge.com and check them out for yourself at 11609 Detroit Road. That's right near the border of Cleveland and Lakewood. The Brothers Lounge, proud sponsor of the Inside Edge Network, Cleveland's digital leader.
Key On Sports is the leader in Ohio high school athletic coverage in written, print, and video streaming. From the latest news and results and written content to the high school football game of the week every Friday, Key On Sports has you covered. The vision of 15-time published author Vince McKee has become the most trusted site in Ohio high school athletic news. From podcasts to player profiles, Key On Sports is your one-stop for all of it. Visit them today at keyonsports.com or on YouTube at Key On Sports. Check out their socials on Twitter and Facebook as well.
Please support the new Inside Edge Network by liking, subscribing, and following us on your favorite social media platforms. That's at Inside Edge Net across Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, X, and IG. And don't forget to download our new app over on Roku. And as always, thank you for supporting your favorite shows on the Inside Edge Network, Cleveland's digital leader for news, talk, sports, entertainment, and mental health. Fanatics isn't just our name, it's who we are. Loyal, passionate fans, dedicated to our favorite teams and to the sports we love. That's why we're honored to be able to offer fans the world's largest collection of official sports apparel and sports jerseys from all leagues, teams, and players you love. We feature a wide selection of gear from every league, including the NFL, MLB, NBA, NHL, and NCAA merchandise, which allows us to serve fans of football, baseball, hockey, basketball, lacrosse, soccer, golf, and everything else that gets your heart pumping. Go to InsideEdgeNetwork.com under our Partners section to find our link to check out all of what Fanatics has to offer. Fanatics, a proud sponsor of the Inside Edge Network, Cleveland's digital leader. Clean energy, bold flavors, no jitters. See why people won't shut up about Dubby. Whether you're starting your workday or getting ready to exercise, Dubby Energy helps you lock in and focus. Over 15 different flavors to choose from. Order Dubby Energy right now and find out more information by checking out our partners page on InsideEdgeNetwork.com. Also, use that promo code InsideEdge10 to receive 10% off your order. Dubby Energy, your energy-focused sponsor of the Inside Edge Network, Cleveland's digital leader. Discover our collection of handcrafted candles made with clean, minimal ingredients. Every product thoughtfully created in small batches, free from harmful toxins for mindful everyday indulgence. Hand-poured coconut soy wax with natural wood wicks to offer long-lasting burn and rich fragrance. Find out more about Alley Rose Fragrances by checking out their link on our partners page at InsideEdgeNetwork.com. And if you're a first-time customer, use the promo code InsideEdge20 to receive 20% off your order. AlleyRoseFragrances.com, a proud sponsor of the Inside Edge Network, Cleveland's digital leader. Dine, drink, and dance at the premier spot in town. It's time to check out all of what our friends over at the Brothers Lounge have to offer. Everything from weekly live entertainment, a wide variety of different beers, wines, and spirits, and an expertly crafted American fare menu with a twist courtesy of Chef Wynn that'll make your mouth water. So, what are you waiting for? Head over to the Brothers Lounge at 11609 Detroit Road or check out their website, brotherslounge.com, to learn more about what you've been missing out on. Brothers Lounge, proud sponsor of the Inside Edge Network, Cleveland's digital leader. Whether searching for a baseball autograph by your favorite World Series slugger, a signed football by an iconic Hall of Famer, or the jersey of a world-famous soccer star, you've come to the right place. Here at sportsmemorabilia.com, the web's leading source for authentic sports memorabilia, you'll find more than 500,000 authentic products from nearly every professional sports league, team, and players. Not only will you find your next prized sports possession with ease, thanks to superb customer service and tremendous site experience, you'll have satisfaction and peace of mind that every product listed comes complete with a certificate of authenticity and is fully backed by the sportsmemorabilia.com lifetime authenticity guarantee. Check out sportsmemorabilia.com by heading over to the partners page on our website, InsideEdgeNetwork.com. Sportsmemorabilia.com, proud sponsor of the Inside Edge Network, Cleveland's digital leader. Discover our collection of handcrafted body mists made with clean, minimal ingredients. They offer a natural alternative to synthetic fragrances, perfect for sensitive skin and those seeking clean, mindful self-care, and the perfect gift for you and your special someone. Learn more about all Alley Rose Fragrances has to offer right now by clicking the link on our partner page at InsideEdgeNetwork.com. First-time customers use that promo code InsideEdge20 to receive 20% off your order. AlleyRoseFragrances.com, a proud sponsor of the Inside Edge Network, Cleveland's digital leader. Monster Moments Photography is a husband and wife wedding photography team based in Cleveland, owned and operated by Inside Edge Network's very own Ryan Mosser and his wife Hallie. For the past 10 years, they've captured more than 100 weddings across Northeast Ohio and beyond, always working together as a true two-person team. Their style centers on authentic, emotional storytelling, documenting the real moments between two people in love and creating images that feel natural, comfortable, and true to the couple. Rooted in Northeast Ohio, but inspired by their travels, Ryan and Hallie bring a warm, personal approach to every wedding day. Their work blends experience, consistency, and a genuine passion for helping couples relive their best day through timeless photography. Learn more by checking out Monster Moments Photography's link on our partners page at the InsideEdgeNetwork.com website. Monster Moments Photography, a proud sponsor of the Inside Edge Network, Cleveland's digital leader. Find us on InsideEdgeNetwork.com for the latest information on your favorite shows, personalities, and network partners. Plus, we have a merch shop. That's right, we have network polos, t-shirts, champion jackets, hats, and bottles. Rep the network. Every purchase supports independent sports and entertainment media. Thank you for your support from all of us here at the Inside Edge Network, Cleveland's digital leader for news, talk, sports, entertainment, and mental health.
I don't know how we can claim ourselves as a leader in mental health while we talk so much Browns, but yes, nonetheless, here we are. This is the main event here on the Inside Edge Net.
Talk through it.
Yeah, just let it out, everybody. Let it all on out. We got Eli Moon, Double A Anthony Alford. I am Rob Rozycki. This is the home stretch. Final segment of the show, and this is news and notes, and we're going to figure out what we've learned. I guess news and notes, we'll start off with the news of the day right now. This kind of goes through today. We find out the NBA world suffered a huge loss. Don Nelson, former player, former coach, was coaching all the way up, I believe, until 2007, and he made his debut with the Chicago Zephyrs in 1963 as a player. Second winningest coach of all time. Pretty much a main character in the NBA from day one with the Celtics on up. Don Nelson passes away at the age of 86. Great run. He was I think down in Hawaii the last few years, just in his words, smoking a lot of reefer. But yeah, the NBA definitely, Steph Curry talked about it. Dirk Nowitzki talked about it. I mean, he's dealt with pretty much every generation that the NBA had.
Yeah, and he had a lot of cool stories, cool runs with different teams, like you mentioned, the Celtics. My most notable remembering of Don Nelson's coaching career was the We Believe Warriors with Monte Ellis. That squad that upset the Dallas Mavericks. The Mavericks were poised to go on a huge run that year. Everybody thought that was Dirk's year. It wasn't going to be 2011. It was going to be, years previous. I think that was 07 or if not sooner, but I think it was 07 or 06.
07.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. 07 for the Mavericks. Yeah, Dallas was poised. They were the 1 seed, and Golden State shocked them. And that was before Splash Brothers and all that. Before that buzz of the Warriors, there was the Don Nelson buzz, and he helped keep that franchise relevant when there wasn't a whole lot to be excited for at times in Golden State when it came to basketball. So I thought that was pretty cool. We were talking off air, Double A, about some of his other runs before that, just with, again, the Mavericks, just to touch on that for a moment.
Yeah, the 03 Mavericks. That was my first favorite video game team to mess around with it. That was with Dirk and Steve Nash. That was the Golden State Warriors before the Golden State Warriors. Guys who could just shoot from the outside. Anywhere on the floor they can shoot. Unfortunately, they ran into San Antonio with Tony Parker and Tim Duncan and all those guys, Ginobili. But otherwise, Don Nelson, you want to talk, one of my first introductions to NBA basketball growing up as a child, one of my first introductions, like post Shaq and Kobe, is like, oh, who's all the coaches in the NBA? Don Nelson was at the very top of the list in terms of colorful personalities. He did not care. He did not care at all. But he was an incredible offensive mind, especially again with that Mavericks team in 03. And had Steve Nash stayed with Dallas instead of going to Phoenix, that Dallas team, they could have did some things down the final stretch. But what a career, Eli and Rob, for Don Nelson, and obviously a life well lived.
Well, yeah, because he's like, kind of in that Paul Silas category. Pat Riley's one of those where, like, you forget that the guy who runs the Miami Heat today played against Wilt Chamberlain. And the fact, like the time capsules involved, Paul Silas, again, was coaching LeBron and playing with Wilt Chamberlain. Like, the fact that these guys can span so many eras that, again, we're talking about, Don Nelson coaching that, those Warriors teams in the early aughts, or, the Mavericks teams. He was winning titles for the Celtics in the 60s. Like, he was a connection directly to Red Auerbach. So yeah, losing those guys, even if he wasn't in the game right now, losing those folks, that's institutional memory going away, for sure. In the NBA, he will be worse off for it. But yeah, news and notes here. I guess there's one other here that kind of along this line. He's still around with us. But Yankee Old Timer Day was today at Yankee Stadium, and we see all the legends come out. I believe they actually put out an official press release saying they were reactivating Mariano Rivera for a game, and he was going to pitch an inning. But one person who was not there was Tommy John. And for those of you who don't know, he is not just the namesake of the elbow surgery we see in the major leagues, but he was a bona fide all-star major league pitcher, 280 wins, actual serious career here as a pitcher. But it looks like he comes out with a note, basically a goodbye note is how it was phrased. He is in ill health, and it looks like the baseball world is going to be preparing for that loss pretty soon. My question, though, to you guys, does he belong in the Hall of Fame? I know we were just talking about the NFL, but does Tommy John belong in the National Baseball Hall of Fame?
I think the tricky thing, he first off contributed a lot to baseball in terms of his statistics, I mean, a lot of people know of Tommy John because of the injury. I mean, a lot of people growing up, that's kind of what they're starting to get to know in new generations of who Tommy John is because of the injury. But, I mean, you look at his statistics, his record, everything like that, definitely a conversation to be had. My only concern would be just based off, whoever's in that voter committee, what the age range is, because if you have younger voters, they may not necessarily look into Tommy John, the impact he left on the field. They may just know him as, again, the guy from the Tommy John injury. So does he deserve a discussion? Absolutely. But also, baseball's a tricky one, Rob, because I'm still pissed Kenny Lofton's not in. Omar Vizquel's not in. There's guys that should be in the Hall of Fame that are not in the Hall of Fame. So, again, first off, I hope, I wish him well and his family well, and same with, Don Nelson, want to extend that as well from just a moment ago. But to Tommy John, it's going to be a discussion of who actually remembers at least a little bit of his game. Is it going to be a younger audience voting on this, or how's that going to look? And baseball, again, is just so tricky because there's so many greats that aren't even eligible for the ballot anymore.
That is true. And again, the writers will do what they do, in terms of that voting. My rule is always this with any Hall of Fame discussion. In baseball, it's the opposite of football, where it's very selective. Can you tell the story of the game? When you invoke certain players, and with Tommy John, with the injury and the impact, like Tommy John's surgery had the injury, that's a part of baseball. You cannot tell the story of baseball without talking about that injury. So I don't know if there's a way to acknowledge it. It wouldn't be fair to say this. Is there a way to acknowledge the injury without the player? I don't know. I don't know how that looks. I don't know. That's a tricky question. I know we're supposed to have opinions on everything. That's a tricky one.
Well, okay, here's this right now. And if I were to, just kind of break it down this way, Tommy John, as finished his career with 288 wins. That is more than any active pitcher in baseball today. More than Verlander, more than Scherzer, more than Garrett Cole or Chris Sale. The number one guy right now is Justin Verlander at 22 wins behind that. I don't think he's even going to eclipse that. So, yes, the typical 300-game winner for a pitcher, that might be going away. Now, do you use the same kind of eye? Do you say, all right, that era, it was 300 and that's how it stays? But, consider the fact, too, that, after that elbow surgery, he had about 4 or 5 seasons that he threw more innings that year than the than the leader last season in innings pitched. So, and that whole surgery, it was a weird thing because most of the time, whenever you have in the medical community a new procedure, it's named after the first doctor that performed it. The doctor didn't want any notoriety, so it went to Tommy John as the first real patient for it on that kind of level. Before that happened, before Tommy John got that surgery, 1975, that was a career ender for pitchers. Elbow problems were not, hey, you're going to be back in a year and a half. Elbow problems were, hey, Herb Score, I hope you can call a game pretty well because that's all you're going to be doing anymore. So that changed baseball. The fact that he was the first one, I don't know how much, okay, there was no skill involved with it. He was just the luck of the draw a little bit, and he was willing to do it. But the fact that, his name is uttered anytime a pitcher hurts the elbow and has to get that procedure, the fact that he does have 288 wins, the fact that he was a 20, what was I looking at here? A 26-year big leaguer. He was around for a real long time. And I think now, I don't know if you can do it with his ill health before he passes, but I don't know. You at least have to acknowledge it in the game's history. At least that's how I look at it.
Yeah, but the other point to make, and again, this is just strictly talking about if he's Hall of Fame worthy. The other point to make is, when you look at his statistics in terms of awards, more so accolades here, 4-time All-Star, but never won a Cy Young. And I know Cy Young, he was around.
Nolan Ryan never won a Cy Young.
I get it, but Nolan Ryan also, you have the multiple no hitters and everything like that for Nolan Ryan. Yeah, that's I just say multiple because I didn't want to get it wrong because I know there's a ton of them. But you have Nolan Ryan obviously with that, but Tommy John, 4-time All-Star, but no World Series wins, no Cy Young awards. So if again, baseball is so critical out of all the sports. I feel like you do one wrong thing either on the field or of course we've seen the steroid era. Those guys are having trouble even staying on the ballot. But
Right.
That's where I think they're going to look too. Is like where impact of the game. What means more? Because there's a ton there with the 288 wins. The ERA 3.34, not crazy. I mean, not superb, but over 26 years to keep it sub 4 is pretty impressive.
Never led the league in any specific like major category in any like wins or ERA or anything like that. Yeah. So I mean, like he was basically, an above average, not great, but an above average pitcher for a real long time.
Yeah. Like if we always say if there's a Hall of Fame or Hall of really good, like he'd be in the Hall of really good probably. He'd be borderline Hall of Fame because of the tenure, because of like Double A said, you really can't tell the story of baseball without his injury. Now, is it a unfortunate thing that happened to him? Sure, but look at the way modern medicine's shaped with this injury to where guys used to be out for a full calendar year before. Now you've seen guys come back sometimes 4 or 5 months. It's kind of crazy to see some of the turnarounds, and it's because of this acknowledgement of the injury and the surgery that took place.
Can you imagine having an injury named after you? I mean, just think about that. You get stung by a bee. Boy, you got the Double A. Like,
yeah.
I'd rather be Tommy John than Lou Gehrig in that situation. Better an injury named after you than a whole new disease. So yeah. But I mean, it's weird how that specific term just kind of caught on, and like a little bit like John Madden, where you got to explain to kids nowadays that he used to be a football coach. Tommy John, you got to explain to kids that no, he's not just the name of a surgeon. He's not a doctor. He was just somebody who had elbow problems in the mid 70s and was in the right place at the right time, and it worked. So,
right.
Yeah, it's still, when he passes, it's going to be it's going to be talked about in baseball. It will be felt as a loss. And I hope that he is wrong in that situation. I hope he does turn it around and he can make many more old timer games at Yankee Stadium right now. He's 83. So, he's had a hell of a run here. Debuted for the Cleveland Indians at age 20 in 1963. So, again, you want to talk about time capsule, guys. I think he was drafted around the same time Nelly was.
Well, you know what? You know what? He was an Indian. He was a Cleveland guy. You know what? Put him in. Anything we just talked about. No, I'm just kidding.
He was 2-11 in 31 games over 2 seasons.
All right, you know what? Everything we said before that's what I really meant. Back to you, Rob.
Okay. Yes, this is the main event here on the Inside Edge net. We got Moon, we got Double A. I am Rob. We're going through some news and notes right now, talking about a few of the losses or bad health situations now in sports. Don Nelson, Tommy John. Let's move to something. Oh Lord, I don't really want to know where. I don't know where we want to go with this one here. So apparently Kawhi Leonard's now making even more money off the books than previously thought. Looks like the new contract that goes along with aspiration and possibly a part ownership in a minor league soccer club is now Daktronics. And if you don't know that company, you have seen them. And I got a pretty good chance if you've looked at a scoreboard at a major league stadium of any sport, they have made the scoreboard. They do not advertise. They are a business-to-business company. There is no need to have a display at Walmart for jumbotrons. They built actually the halo at the Intuit Dome for the Clippers. Speaking of Kawhi Leonard. But yes, it has been exposed by Pablo Torre, and Pablo Torre finds out in what I believe is now part 12 of their 12-part series on aspiration and Kawhi Leonard. It is reported that Kawhi Leonard had an endorsement deal with them off the books as now a second revenue stream away from the salary cap. More salary cap circumvention for the Clippers. No comment from the NBA. In fact, we are finding out they're going to release the results of their investigation probably next year now. We're still going to wait on the punishment. We're still going to wait on fallout. What are we thinking about Kawhi Leonard and the salary cap? Is the salary cap circumvention a big deal to you guys? And is the fact that the NBA is dragging their feet a big deal?
I'll be very quick. I got just 2 quick points on this. One, Steve Ballmer, way better owner than what the Clippers had with Donald Sterling. They made an improvement because Donald Sterling is a piece of shit. But when it comes to Steve Ballmer, he has made very terrible business moves when it comes to the Clippers, tenure he's had. I mean, not only just some of the investments on the court with some of the players they brought in, but this entire Kawhi Leonard thing. So, the Clippers got better in terms of better ownership for a moment, and now Steve Ballmer is in a lot of hot water for business moves that should not have been taking place. Of course, to your point, Rob, the salary cap circumvention. I want to talk about Kawhi Leonard for just a moment here. This is the guy that in 2014 we were calling the LeBron stopper. The guy he is the next 10 to 12 years in San Antonio Spurs uniform, and they're going to win championships. And he had the stuff with Craig Popovich, and I believe that maybe he wasn't feeling the having to be in the shadow, for lack of better words, of, Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, who he did play with all those guys. And then, of course, the Spurs legends of the past, David Robinson, Robert Horry, you think of all these guys. So he went to Toronto, and he should have stayed there. He won a championship. He was the guy. Kyle Lowry is very beloved. I mean, he's probably a lot of people's favorite rapper, but in terms of the man of the team, it was Kawhi Leonard. And that's just what it comes down to. He was the champion-winning Toronto Raptor, the guy who brought them to where they couldn't get to with Lowry and DeRozan. He should have just stayed there. And now we're looking at these, it's not funny because it's actually ridiculous what's going on, but in a way it's funny because Kawhi thought he was just going to sneak out the back door, go back to Toronto, and it ain't happening. So this investigation happens, and Ballmer has to obviously take a punishment, but AA, this is a bad look on Ballmer. But we talk all the time about legacies, especially since LeBron's made his decision. We talk about James Harden here in Cleveland with his legacy and other guys, Durant. When we talk about Kawhi Leonard, mix in the fact that he's been, unavailable a lot of these seasons recently too. It's almost crazy to think this is the same guy 10 years ago we're talking about could be the best player in the modern NBA.
And not just 10 years ago, but also what he did with the Raptors in 2019, beating Golden State. I know KD's injury kind of helped that in the 2019 finals, but he is an NBA, two-time NBA champion.
Yeah, and the Warriors only having the 4 Hall of Famers on the roster, I'm sure that made everything a little tougher for him.
Right. But what's Eli's very last point, though, is a sticking point to me, is the, not being available and taking as much time off as possible. I see why. This dude's running side hustles all across the board. Now, me, as somebody who hosts a side hustle wrestling podcast, and quite honestly, the genesis of the Inside Edge Network is a side hustle, I can appreciate the hustle and the respect. I cannot. It would be hypocritical of me to hate on Kawhi.
But we're not breaking anybody's rules.
But that's my point. It's like you're breaking rules. You're going to other teams and asking to break the rules. You're going to the Raptors saying, hey, do this for me. Toronto saying, no, it's against NBA rules. You look at the Lakers. Hey, do this, and this. I want private jets. I want this. And the Lakers are saying, nah, that's against the rules. You found one person and one owner who said, okay, we'll do it. We'll do it. I wonder, Rob, how Clipper fans are feeling right now, on top of everything Eli just said. I wonder how Clipper fans are feeling because you're missing all this time. You're missing all this action, but you got side deals here, side deals there, illegal side deals, but you're not available for the one thing you're employed to do.
Oh yeah. Well, the thing is that he didn't have to do anything for the other gigs. That's the problem. That's the whole thing too. Is like if they would have had 2 tweets with Kawhi Leonard planting a tree or wearing an aspiration T-shirt or doing anything that a spokesperson would do, we would not be here. We would not. They would have plausible deniability. And, it would just be kind of people raising eyebrows, moving on with our day. Now, with Kawhi, I think he is turning into, at least to me anyway, as like the epitome of the money grubbing. I need every nickel I can get. I need, if you look back at like the Replacements, kind of how they painted the entire NFL player union as it like, no, we need our, pampered, things in practice, and we need all of our shit, or we're not going to be able to do this. Kawhi's kind of turning into that. Now, when it comes down to his legacy, I think it's really going to screw with that because he's not going to get suspended with this. He will not. And that is not a virtual certainty. That is a 100% certainty. And I have the CBA to back it up. You cannot suspend a player for salary cap circumvention. It says that pretty clearly. He can get a fine up to about $350,000 and the contract can get voided out. That's it. So he's not going to get any sort of punishment in this when, by all accounts, Uncle Dennis and his team were as accountable in this thing. It wasn't like Steve Ballmer had this idea. It wasn't like the Raptors ownership had the idea. It was Kawhi's people shopping this around and saying that this was a deal breaker. So he's going to get away with this. Like, that's not good. I think players and everybody alike are just going to be like, well, we can't fault him for trying to get paid. Well, you can fault him for breaking the rules and knowingly doing it, but he's not going to. What's up, Double A?
Now, Rob, yesterday, I was at the Rozycki residence yesterday, and thanks for having me out there.
Absolutely.
You brought up a great point about Steve Ballmer in terms of, he's never had to, like checks and balances. Has never been a thing of his. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that point?
I think he's the fourth richest guy on the planet. At least top 5. Employee number 30 at Microsoft. He has been running Microsoft for a long time. He is used to being a businessman. And I don't think it never occurred to Ballmer to sit down and talk about, how much money he has to pay IBM or Dell or any of the Compaq, whatever computer maker you want to do it with. It was never a procedure where he had to sit down with those guys 2-3 times a year and talk about how they were going to compete together. He is used to having no salary cap, no rules, no sort of regard for any competitor. In fact, a desire to just knock them out with no questions asked. He is a businessman. And it's going to be tough for the NBA to punish him, too, because of that business and because of that money. And I think that might be why the NBA is waiting for this investigation and dragging their feet on this and doing all this stuff. Because Ballmer, the second he gets punished by the NBA, is going to turn into that tight end at Miami wanting the 8th year of eligibility. He's going to file an injunction. He's going to go to court. So if he is suspended, if he is forced to sell the team, if he is levied a 10-figure fine, 11-figure fine for this, he's going to go right in to challenge that and get into court and do that. And then at that point, the NBA is a big entity. Steve Ballmer's bigger. And Steve Ballmer is one of the few people that could out-lawyer the NBA in this situation. So any punishment that's going to happen is going to be settled. It's going to be, hey, come to the principal's office so we can talk about how much detention you should get. And you're going to have an input in that. So this is just a bad situation for the NBA in general. Kawhi is going to walk away from this scot-free. Steve Ballmer is not going to really get punished to the fullest extent of any rule. And they're just going to try to hope that this can go away. And maybe the fans ignore that you got salary cap circumvention. Adam Silver called this the cardinal rule of the NBA this season. He said, we're talking about the sanctity of the game. And we always, get angry with, and we should, with the steroids and gambling and all this other happy crap that screws with the sanctity of the game. Right. That's what this is doing. And if the NBA doesn't treat this as such, as a gambling scandal, as a steroid scandal in baseball, then they're going to be getting even more criticism about, we all know the script. We all know this is rigged. We all know this is predetermined. Because Adam Silver is behaving one step away from Vince McMahon at this point.
Right. And my final point on this, too, is I don't know if Kawhi Leonard will walk away unscathed. Because you said one interesting thing when you were reading about the CBA, Rob, and that was that the contract could become void, which, if I'm under the understanding, that would make Kawhi Leonard a free agent. That would make him available to any team. So, obviously, with this trade still up in the air, you got to ask yourself, if you're Toronto, a young team, Scotty Barnes, RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickley, on top of other names that are there in Toronto that are making some noise, you got to ask yourself, are you really willing to deal with all this nonsense when Kawhi Leonard is a free agent in 2027 anyways? If you're the Clippers and this trade doesn't go through by some chance, now I think it will, but let's say it doesn't go through. If you're the Clippers, do you look at this and go, look, we have done everything we can for Kawhi Leonard. We brought in Paul George. We brought in James Harden. We have done everything. Let's just cut ties. The experience hasn't worked. I mean, obviously Kawhi Leonard will find another NBA team. I'm not saying his career would be over, but I think it would leave a little bit of uncertainty for the first time in his career in about 10 years. 10, 12 years. I mean, this would be something where if these teams go, we're cool on you, and it's not, and I just double checked, before I made this point, because I wanted to see where his contract was. If it was like 3-4 years or 2 years left, maybe we're not having that discussion. But the fact that his free agency is coming up too, and he's 35 years old, and he'll be 36. He just turned 35. He'll be 36 next June. I mean, this isn't like he's still in his prime. How much do you put up with?
Well, and the thing is, though, and this is why I think Kawhi kind of knows what's going on, and Kawhi can kind of read the tea leaves here. You mentioned, with the contract getting voided, what team are going to want to deal with that if it's Toronto or whoever here. Kawhi Leonard had highs in points, assists, and rebounds since the pandemic. Yeah. Kawhi Leonard also played in 65 games, when he's only played in more than 65 one time since 2018. I think Kawhi Leonard understood that maybe he needs to have a pretty good looking back of the basketball card coming into this season or next season so he can get paid again. That's what you do when you might be a free agent a little bit faster than you planned. Mind your P's and Q's. I think what everybody was talking about, he was, record efficient at the free throw line this year.
Right.
He was a damn good player all the way around when he hasn't been for a few years. And that might be the reason why.
There is a chance. There is a chance. This is not a statement that you can believe at this moment right now, but there's a chance 10 years from now we're going to look at Kawhi Leonard and say he was one of the smartest people to ever grace the NBA. Because if he gets away with this without any punishment, without anything, and he has all these outside business deals, that could set up to be the model of what superstar NBA players should do moving forward. And
Ballmer seems like a genius too, because he got away with everything.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think what also helps Ballmer out, there's a couple of things. He's a likable guy. You mentioned his predecessor, Donald Sterling. He's not him. He's an affable guy. He's nice. He makes jokes. He's comes off as kind of a soccer dad, which I think helps him out in this whole situation. And Moon, I will give him, you crack on him as an owner a little bit, and I understand it. He did build that Intuit Dome with all of his own money. He did not go to, Inglewood and ask for any funds. He did that so I'll give him that. So he is good in some ways for the league. He's not a completely horrible owner.
Right.
But, he hasn't won a title yet. Okay, I get that. And that moves me to my second point. If these guys were playing like the Thunder right now and had a title in the last couple of years and were favorites next year in the West, then maybe I think a few more people would be getting their panties in a bunch. But right now, the team that's cheating their asses off can't even get out of the play-in tournament. So, what are they really getting? It's like a dude who takes steroids and hits 6 home runs and bats 190. Are you really going to get that mad at him for it? Did they really help that much?
Yeah, I mean, my goodness.
That would be so disappointing.
Yeah.
Like you find out that Nick Swisher was on steroids the 2 years he was playing here. Why? What did it do? Why?
Bro, there was no benefits for you on the field and off the field if you believe any of the off the field side effects with steroids. There was no benefit whatsoever.
It was for Brohio. That's
Lord. But so I think those two things kind of help Ballmer out right now. But if I'm Dan Gilbert, I'm like, okay, if he's not going to get punished for this, man, we got Rocket Mortgage over here, so we're going to do anything we can, and we're going to give away ownership stake if we need to. So
that's the whole thing. Like when we talked about Brandon Sorsby a month or so back, it wasn't this is wrong. Oh, since this team got away with it, how could we get away with it? The NCAA, they're not going to challenge us. What do we need to do so we can get away with it?
I heard that there was one GM Pablo was reporting, confidentially, he said to Pablo off the record, Bro, I don't know if we're ready for this. I don't know if I know how to launder money. Like, like you might need to get, John Gotti's lawyer in here before, instead of a cap guy at this rate. Like,
sheesh, yeah.
And again, that screws with everything, though, because like if they're not going to take their rules seriously, then why should anybody at this rate? So like, why do they have labor negotiations? Why do they have work stoppages if we're just going to blow off all this shit anyway?
Great point. Point.
Yeah, no,
like baseball, if they stop the season for a hard cap only to find out the Dodgers have figured out a way to circumvent it a year and a half later, where are we at as a people?
We're screwed. Baseball-wise, we'd be absolutely screwed.
Yeah,
absolutely screwed.
So, and the NBA is probably the NBA isn't as healthy as Major League Baseball right now, with public perception anyway.
True. I'll give you that.
All right, main event here, Inside Edge Net, final segment, news and notes. Let's see here. We can go. Anybody have an opinion on the WNBA's newest prospect or newest two prospects?
If it's the one I think you're referring, it's a stupid story.
Yeah,
it's. I guess this is my opinion. It's a stupid story. I told you. I saw, like, when I'm working out at Planet Fitness, on the TV, it was surreal what happened Saturday afternoon. This particular Planet Fitness has one cable news channel and another cable news channel right next to each other. So you're going to get pissed at something. And, CNN and Fox. And then Fox is running the whole – I think Fox News is covering the WNBA more than ESPN at this rate.
And that's not a good thing for the WNBA. It's not.
The TV next to Fox News, CBS, airing a WNBA game between Las Vegas and Minnesota. Kudos to Olivia Miles, who hit a buzzer beater half-court shot to end the first quarter. Great shot. It was right through. It was just surreal. The Hall of Fame. That particular story, though, complete stupid attempt at an attention grab. I don't care for it. I really don't.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with AA. And I know there may be some at home that are like, who are these prospects? You don't really need to know because it's just a bunch of bullshit, for lack of better words. And for the guy that was sitting here talking about how LeBron is full of drama and some of these other NBA players are full of drama, both these guys, have been drama since they've been out of the NBA. So it's just I don't feel like giving them the energy to even mention them on this broadcast.
I'll dignify it to say it because I'm going to completely fuck it up here. Royce Lewis, I believe, is the second guy, and Enes Kanter, Freedom. He changed his name and added the Freedom to it. They both came out as officially as quote unquote WNBA prospects, talking about the trans athlete argument in the country today. First thing I want to say, as little respect as I have for Enes Kanter for being an attention-seeking whore, Royce Lewis, at least Kanter was original. You are a basic ass bitch who is an attention-seeking whore, who is not original. So, okay, for as little respect as I have for Kanter, I got even less for Lewis. Now, their comment on this is that, the transgender problem in sports is so big and so bad that we need to bring attention to this, and we need to ask the question that does not have an easy answer. Because, again, trans athletes are just this issue that we're having across sports. AA Eli Moon, how many trans athletes are playing in the WNBA today?
None.
Cool. Got the answer to that question. AA Moon, do you know how many trans athletes are in the NCAA right now? And we're talking about 500,000 athletes, 500,000.
I'm going to still say none.
Less than 10. Less than 10. How many trans athletes are in middle school or high school in Ohio in general? The answer to that is also less than 10. We have no problem with this. And I understand Leah Thomas, the former Kentucky swimmer who tied with the trans athlete. Guess what? Leah Thomas is talking about how the men and women's, in women's sports was the hindrance in her, competing, so on and so forth. She tied with the swimmer, which means that if there was no trans swimmer in there, she would have finished in the exact same spot that she did when against the trans swimmer. This is not a problem. This is not an issue. This is a made up horror story that, we'll face it, and we don't want to get political too much. We do sometimes. This is something the right has manufactured to scare white conservative, mainly suburban voters, in thinking that this is a problem, that when you put your kid in public school, that they're going to get overran by this trans agenda. They're going to chop off their balls and play girls field hockey for the rest of their days. This is not a problem. And any of those athletes I mentioned, between the NCAA, the state of Ohio, and the WNBA, who has none, but nobody in Ohio, nobody in the NCAA who is a trans athlete is in this situation. You're not talking about a biological male who changed over to dominate women. All of these athletes are scholastic athletes. They like to run cross country. They like to, could be on the wrestling, whatever the case may be. They're not the pro athlete track folks that we talk about all the time. This is a made up problem. And all they're doing right now is just trying to scare everybody, thinking they need a solution to something that does not exist. And that's where this is at. Like, it is Enos Freedom wanting attention. It is Royce Lewis wanting attention and not being original. And it is the right that just wants to create a problem where none existed at all, because you can get some votes that way.
And I will mention this. Caitlin Clark had an opportunity to speak out on an issue that she's been front and center about. Not at all, right? She really hasn't. And they finally asked her point blank, what do you think? And she gave the answer of, hey, we'll let our basketball leaders take care, whatever rules and regulations they want to set forth. I'm with it. And that's that.
So what basically she said was, I just want to shut up and dribble.
Yeah, you see a complete switch up from that standpoint. But the point is like, even with Caitlin Clark for a hot second, Caitlin Clark has been whipped into having to say something about anything, where you can clearly tell she is not comfortable at all talking about any lick of political issues at all. She just wants to go out there and play ball, and do that. And you can feel however you feel about her as a ball player, but she wants to keep the conversation with basketball. And I'm happy that she finally went out and was just like, look, listen, I'll let leadership deal with what they're dealing with, but I'm here to help my team win. And that's my focus, and that's it.
I don't have too much on this. I really don't. I mean, I just think Cantor and White, Royce White are just kind of ridiculous.
It's Royce White. I said Royce Lewis. I'm sorry.
You're okay. Yeah, I think that's
Royce Lewis is a real dude. I apologize to him. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I think he's the Minnesota Twins starter. I think he's one of the
starters. I'm sorry. Well, okay. I don't mind pissing off a Minnesota Twin, but I do apologize.
No, you're good. I mean, I'm sure he takes no harm. I mean, but yeah, those guys. I just don't have nothing for those guys, because it's just like when you're constantly an asshole and you're doing it because it's the only thing that keep you relevant at this point in the game. I just don't have no sympathy. And plus, both of those guys have been outspoken, and I don't necessarily agree with anything they say most of the time. So it's like, I just can't give the energy. I've been very big on spiritual energy recently, and who I give my energy to, and Enes Kanter, Freedom, or whatever the hell his freaking name is, and Royce White, they don't get my energy tonight any more than what we said. It's a ridiculous thing for them to try to do and take attention away from the WNBA, which is rising as a league. I've talked about things they need to do to not grow stagnant, but they are rising as a league, and stuff like this is a bad look.
Well, what they realize is that, when you're talking about WNBA and Caitlin Clark, it gets clicks. When you talk about the trans debate, it gets clicks. And Enes Kanter doesn't, he might not be as dramatic as LeBron, but he also doesn't have the bank account. And I'm sure wanting to get back into the public eye and getting a little bit more attention is going to help that out. Also, too, for what it's worth, he's over here because the old administration in Turkey wanted to kill him. And the more he keeps opening his mouth, I kind of understand why. But
unalive, we're on YouTube, unalive.
Okay. Cease to exist. Shuffle loose of this mortal coil. Kick the bucket. Yes. Bite the big one. Yes.
Stick a fork in its crazy double.
Go to that big pickup game in the sky. Yeah, whatever we're talking about here. I think we can talk around that enough. But yes, this is the main event here on. What's up?
I think we covered it.
Yeah. Back to you, Rob. Back to you.
All righty. This is the main event here on the Inside Edge Net. We got Double A laughing his ass off. We got Eli Moon trying to stay awake, and I'm Rob Rozycki, trying to do a little bit of both, actually. But yes, let's figure out what we've learned this week, and while we're sitting here at the 3-hour mark, get everybody going on their way. Does anybody care to go first?
Yeah, I'd love to. I'll be to the point with it. It was a blessed weekend. I was at Brothers Lounge, as you've seen throughout the night, newest sponsor of the Inside Edge Network, and we're very grateful for them. We were at Moonbash Rockin' and Rollin' the Inside Edge Network, interviewing artists, interviewed, of course, owner Billy Plona. We had a great time at Brothers Lounge, had Moonbash. I've done a lot of shows there over the last 2 years, going on our 30-year book in there, and then, of course, the network now with Brothers Lounge. So it was just great to be there, have a great time. Friday, Saturday, 2 great lineups, singer-songwriter lineups. I had a great time. I was just able to enjoy myself, enjoy the vibes, enjoy good community, great community, and that's what I'm about, community creation. And there were so many different people that I got to meet different people, and even the artists were like, oh, I've never heard so-and-so perform before. Let me go collab with them or have a conversation. And that was really one of the coolest moments of the weekend for me. So I think what I learned this weekend is just continue to just stay locked in on what we're doing. Again, with the Inside Edge Network, what we provide, in terms of our pillars, sports, entertainment, music, news, mental health, our pillars that shape community and everything I do with Lahele, my music collective, and the Inside Edge Network, just building community, having people meet people, and just growing stronger. So again, thank you to Brothers Lounge for having me all weekend and letting me put these lineups together, these cards of fantastic artists. We appreciate them, and of course the Inside Edge Network appreciates them as well, because we were eating pretty good at Moonbash. I know Double A's been telling me the last couple of days he's got to stop back up there, see Chef Win Rob, and get some wings, because I put wings down. In full transparency, day 2 of Moonbash, I said, Double A, do you want to grab a few wings and some fries? He said, yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you, Eli. The honey mustard, how Double A is, Rob, so he doesn't do mustard. I walked away for not 2 minutes, like 10 minutes. I come back. Double A goes, I owe you on the next one. My bad. Rob, there was 3 wings left. No fries. But hey, that's a testament to Chef Win and Brothers Lounge. So we appreciate them so much. Again, newest sponsor of the Inside Edge Network. What I learned this weekend is we can continue to build community wherever we're at. And that's awesome.
Full transparency on that story. I went from stress eating because my setup for the split remote that we did, my stuff wasn't working. It was my equipment. My stuff wasn't working. So I went from stress eating. I'm like, whatever. And it was so good. Like, oh crap. In my attitude towards fries, I know you can air fry French fries, but my rule towards French fries, there are no such thing as leftover French fries. You got to eat it right then and there.
Yeah, I found that out.
It's not coming home.
Yeah, I found that out. There was no leftover French fries.
I got you next time. Hey, I'll get you that or the pulled pork barbecue nachos. Which shout out to Pete for getting that. That was great.
Heck yeah. Well, that's what I learned this weekend is community is growing stronger. We had some great food this weekend, and yeah, just happy to keep rocking. A very, very busy week. And of course, we mentioned it over last week. I also mentioned that, of course, programming note this week, 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. Evening stream. Kyle Cornell joins the evening stream at 9 p.m. Autumn on vacation, but she'll join us the following week back at 8. So this week, 9 to 1. So I'll just get that in there as well. So you aren't shocked out there when you don't see Unfiltered at 5. It's at 9 now. Double A, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I'll go next. You ever play a video game and then after, a day later, you're like, what the hell happened?
I mean, you're going to have to expand, buddy.
I will. So at the Rozycki residence yesterday,
Oh no! Did
Playing,
you whoop your
you
ass
know.
in Madden again?
playing Madden.
Oh no!
No, it didn't happen again. Okay, I won the first couple. Okay, so the first game I got demolished. I was learning the controls. It was Madden 2026. I'm learning the controls.
Okay.
Yeah, they I know they haven't changed in like 18 years, so I can understand the learning curve.
I understand. So I look over at my Nintendo 64 just on the other side of the studio. All right. So we get to the second game. All right, I got the curve, everything. First off, what the hell with the kicking? Why are we? What is this whole tap hole, tap, mistletoe?
I didn't know what the fuck was
kicking,
going on with that. Yeah.
meter, whatever. What are we doing? All right,
Okay,
it's simple.
all right.
Give me one tap, boom. Second tap, boom. Line it up, boom. There's your kicker. I don't need all that. Don't do that. I remember the old free throw system from NBA 2K1 or something, where like Shaquille O'Neal just shoot free throws. Stop all that. No. I just realized I just gave Kyle a new meme of the week.
You sure did, bro.
But my play calling, I'm pissed at my play calling. Second game, it's NFL superstars of today versus NFL legends. I have the superstar team. First three quarters, Josh Allen. I'm starting Josh Allen. We're rolling, right? We're doing whatever we do. It's close. But, him, Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, we're rolling.
Yeah.
Fourth quarter, all right, we got to switch it up. Put in Lamar Jackson. And it's Lamar and Saquon Barkley, same backfield.
Wow.
Get a scoring drive. It took like 30 seconds. Went right down the field, scored, everything. But it was like 3 plays where I blew the game. Play number 1, back on offense. All I got to do is get in the red zone, kick a field goal, I win. Third down, I throw a check down. Or no, it wasn't a check down. It was supposed to be a fade. Underthrown, picked.
Oh man.
Second play, Rob with his Legends team. I don't even know who he threw it to. I think he had John Elway. I don't know who the receiver was.
Oh God, Double A.
Slant over the middle.
To the
The
house.
receiver already broke the second level. I got players trying to go after him. I'm like, no, let him score. No.
I had
we're down
Randy
now.
Moss and Terrell Owens on the outside, and my slot dude was Jerry Rice. I was fine.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Right. Yeah. Y'all blew it. The clock's running down. Timeouts on our.
And I
let
think
him
that one
score.
you're talking about might have been a Tony Gonzalez. So, yeah.
It was
Okay.
it was Tony Gonzalez. That's exactly who it was. It was Tony Gonzalez. No, y'all blew it.
Okay.
Patrick Surtain and others, let them score.
Okay.
Get the ball back.
Okay.
First couple plays, it's okay, but nothing like sustainable in anything. Third down, fourth down, game on the line.
Game on the line.
Here we go. Let's get the first down. It's under 10 seconds, but I have like one time I caught whatever. I have Lamar in the game. And what do?
You ran with them.
I freaking try to scramble to the left side out of the pocket, and I get sacked on 4th and 10.
Reggie White.
I was just about to guess. I was like, was it like Reggie White and freaking Michael Strahan on the defensive
Game
line
over.
or something? Oh my goodness.
Game
J.J.
over.
Watt. No, not Strahan. It was J.J. Watt and then Reggie White.
Game over. Blew the game. It was over 24 hours ago. Still pissed at blowing the game. I understand now, gentlemen. Guys who play online and their whole day is ruined if they F up a game.
I mean, I just. So you were you leading the game when you did the switch for Lamar Jackson?
I think we were tied.
Okay.
Yeah, it was
tied.
okay.
It
Yeah,
was
I think it was
14
real
all.
close.
I can
It was a
understand.
real low scoring thing, and then Double A put Lamar in, and I realized that I had these monster receivers, and then everything kind of changed in the fourth quarter.
Okay. All right. I mean, hey, I can understand the frustration. It's been a minute. I know I wasn't able to make it out. Obviously, I had the shows this weekend, but I'll have to come out there, Rozycki, and we'll have to run it back because I think last time you beat me by like 10, and I don't ever lose in Madden, so I was pissed.
Understandable. This is what we've learned here on the main event on the Inside Edge Net. And yes, we need to have a Madden tournament at some point in time here. One thing real quick that I've learned, I was on The Athletic as, kind of sorting out what I was about to talk about here. And I clicked on, the little top corner where you can kind of like get like the NBA, NFL, like all the list of stuff. And they have like news stories in the corner. And it's fantasy football draft assistant, quarterback tiers. Don Nelson passes away at 86. I think Tommy John's in here too. And then at the bottom, it says with a WNBA logo, the link is latest on Sophie Cunningham. So that's why these motherfuckers are talking about all of this trans stuff. It's because the 6-foot blonde lady gets clicks, and anytime we can get her in a story, we're cool. But the other thing that I've learned, and Double A saw this yesterday too, speaking of our get together yesterday, Sports Jeopardy needs to do better, man. Double A and I sat down, we were watching Joe Buck, and I said several times before the whole thing started that I was prepared to get my ass handed to me. I was prepared to get humbled in a way that I did when I watched normal Jeopardy or even when I watched Pop Culture Jeopardy. They're not screwing around with that either.
Oh, Pop Culture Jeopardy is hard.
And I'm laying back 2 Trulies into the evening, and Joe Buck's rolling off all these questions. And I swear to God, Double A can testify to this. If I was playing against any of these celebrities playing, I would have won that game. And it wasn't even close. And the fact, too, that it was celebrities. I want real people. Okay, cool. John Hamm's great. And, Dominique Foxworth's great. And I like watching those guys. But part of the draw with Jeopardy is that you take the person off the couch and you see if they can hang out and you see if they can actually compete with the best of the world and do what they're going to do on that. And, it was cool that you had the celebrities in there, but I wish it was real people. But, yeah, that's what I learned. The Jeopardy needs to do better. Well, Jeopardy needs to do better.
First off, we watched Jeremy Schaap. He did a great job. It was so funny watching him, like the questions that he missed, and he was pissed at himself every single time for missing some of those questions. It's like, dude, what are we? But I do agree though, like with Jeopardy, like what game show was great back in the day?
Whammy.
Stump the Schwab.
I was going to say pressure luck. Stump the Schwab was, and rest in power, King Howie Schwab. For those of you who are a little young for it, he was the old master at this ESPN Stats and Info, and the game show was putting sports fans up against him. And about 9 or 10 times out of 10, it would be him winning. Like there was very few people that were going to stump the Schwab, and yeah, that was probably the best trivia. And Dan Patrick, when they did Sports Jeopardy for a while, he did a couple seasons of that. That wasn't bad, but yeah, I hope they can iron out, because Pop Culture Jeopardy changed a little bit from the first season to the second season. Format changes. I hope they can kind of tweak this and get going, because the world is better when there's a Sports Jeopardy on TV.
Oh yes,
and I think we should get an Inside Edge Network Jeopardy team together. Not a Jeopardy team, a Family Feud team rather together. I think we should get a Family Feud team together, and we bring we're the Inside Edge Network, and I think we have enough collaboration, creativity. We could definitely beat the Portnoys. They scored 0.
I'm glad you went with Family Feud on that one, because if we did an Inside Edge Jeopardy, I think you guys would have to pick 3 people to go against me on.
I'm gonna be honest. I would not compete. Let me be very clear. Double A and I would split hosting responsibilities. It would be probably like Chad, you, and if Pete doesn't compete, we'd probably put Kyle. That's what I would say. Run you 3, because it's gonna be entertaining. You guys are definitely gonna get into some debates, maybe some unhealthy debates at times, and then Double A and I are gonna kick it to break, and we'll see you right after the
commercial. And Rob will be pissed when the clicker doesn't work on Jeopardy.
Love it. I love it. Love it.
Like it'll be like if I had to listen. If I had a choice of which game show to host, it would obviously be Price is Right. It would obviously be that, because it has my game.
I think any game show would be fun when you're giving away money and prizes that aren't yours.
Hell yes. Hell yes.
Like if somebody looked at any one of the 3 of us and said, here's $1 million, figure out a fun way to give it away.
My bread and butter back in the day, before OMS, OCB, was Plinko at Cedar Point, giving away front of the line passes to the big rides. And I sold that thing like you thought you were winning $1 million to go to the front of the line of Top Thrill Dragster. I had that thing shaking. Oh man, it was good times. Good times.
Oh yes.
Amazing.
Family Feud would be fun too.
Yes.
Well, Family Feud's one that like you need to have more of a social, timing and knowledge, because like Steve Harvey, the great comedy moments of that show come when a contestant says an answer they're not expecting or throws a curveball. It's not rehearsed, and you need to be a good enough comic and have a quick enough wit that you can turn that into those lemons into lemonade. And Steve Harvey does a great job at that. I guess Drew Carey too a little bit with Price is Right. When you get kind of the crazed fans up there, you got to be able to handle what's thrown at you. But
hot take: Drew Carey is not a bad host.
No, I don't think he is. I never thought he was.
I'm not saying he's Bob Barker, but Drew Carey it might have been the weight loss, but Drew Carey is a good host.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's found his niche there. He's now the host of the show. He's been doing it 10 years, 15, something like that.
20.
He's been doing it for a minute now. And I think the biggest negative you can say on him is that he's not Bob Barker, but okay, who is?
Yeah, that's like saying Ryan Seacrest isn't Dick Clark. I mean, like we can't really, it's not really fair to compare the legends to other guys that still have notable careers with Carey and Seacrest.
At least though with Drew Carey though, he's not hosting Bob Barker's Price is Right. Where like you don't have another guy's name on the show, and like with Dick Clark's New Year's Rockin' Eve. Like, hi, I'm not Dick Clark. How you doing?
Seacrest out. All right.
But speaking about, let's figure out a way to land this plane here without crashing into a mountain. This is the main event here on the Inside Edge Net. We got Double A, Eli Moon, and you. Thank you for sticking with us for a little over 3 hours on this Sunday night. I hope we made it a little bit better and a little bit more entertaining. And I understand, we're getting ready for football. There's not a lot of sports happening, but hey, I hope, everything that we did today at least made everything move a little quicker for you. But yes, we'll be back next week, same time-ish. I guess we still haven't really nailed down a start time for this one. And, but we'll figure it out. But we'll be back Sunday night. And again, these guys will be on all week. We got Double A with Midnight Run. We got Eli Moon, leading in before that one here. And I will figure out a way to pop on Midnight Run. I'm sure I'm betting either Monday or Thursday. I think one of those 2 days might work out well, depending on what the Guardians are doing. But yes, stay tuned to the Inside Edge Net all week, as you normally do. Get all of your latest sports news and mental health updates and everything along that line right here. But for everybody here in studio, we got Eli Moon, we got Double A Anthony Alford. I am Rob Rozycki, and of course, we can't forget you guys. Thanks for sticking with us. This is the main event on the Inside Edge Net. We will see you next week.